Good morning. It's June 28th, 2016. I will call the Wright County Board meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the minutes of June 21st, 2016.
I'll move the minutes.
I'll second it.
Motion by Burrell, second by Delight. Any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The agenda for today. Bob's got something?
Board, it's just a minor tweak. I'll be introducing Lindsay Meyer, but I don't know that I ever really introduced Tammy Wright. So I want to take this opportunity to show you my new structure and my better staff. So
Okay, so item 1 will be introduction of Lindsay Meyer, Tammy Veit, and
miscellaneous.
miscellaneous relative to his organization. Anything else?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second
that.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Delight. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. The consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pull out of the treasurer's consent claims.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of the claims?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Delight and second by Commissioner Houston. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Mr. Bob? Yes, sir. On the page 2, under County Board, we've got Rupp Anderson Squires Waldsburg, professional services of $10,932.22. I'm assuming that's the lawsuit, Rebecca Otto, who's wasting taxpayer money. Is that what that's for?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Delight, and I believe that is accurate, and I think that should be quoted to Budget 100-6261 rather than 005.
The claim was coded to 005, but I think we're tracking all those nice expenses under 01-100-6261. Okay. But yes, this is related to the lawsuit. Okay.
Is there a motion to pay the bills with correction and where to, what category it's coming from?
I do have one other question,
Okay.
though. Do we have a final price from the state audit yet? Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I do not have the final bill from the state auditor's office. This is where the administrative folks take a good look at our audit. They came out here, we had an audit exit. I have not seen that bill yet. The final bill? Okay.
And Bob, what was the cost of our audit last year with Clifton Larson?
Roughly board, it was about $58,000.
15?
58.
58, okay. That's the number to remember.
If you would just, when you have all those numbers together, I'd just be kind of curious. Yes.
United
I'll be curious.
Board, and if I, in advance of that, I want to remind you that, we did contract with Clifton Larson Allen for a component of it that we didn't want to have the state duplicate. So when the final picture is done, I'd have to add those two together. But I will do that for you. Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the vouchers for $190,152.53, 153 vendors, and 299 transactions, subject to audit.
Second. Motion by Commissioner Glyden, second by Commissioner Burrell. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Okay, Bob, back to you.
Board, it is a pleasure to introduce to you my administrative staff. On the agenda was to introduce Lindsay Meyer. Lindsay Meyer is coming to us from Anoka County. I have been called a rat bastard. I've been called all sorts of neat names. They want to know how I was able to do this. But Lindsay Meyer is a star here and was a star at Anoka County. She's coming to us with, she was an accounting manager at Anoka County, so she has some experience as far as managing accounting staff from multiple departments. She's instrumental in their CAFR. Remember, this year is our first year to go for the certificate. I believe, though, we will achieve it. But adding Lindsay will just make our presentation that much better.
Bob, I was just thinking, you know how to get quoted in the paper, don't you?
And the press, you guys got that verbatim, right?
Quote, yes.
Well, those were the words used, so. Lindsay, why don't you?
Oh.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
It is a pleasure to be here. I am thrilled to apply my skills and knowledge to further the county in the direction that they are heading.
Well, we do know why you came to work here. You wanted to work for the Wright County. Because you had been working for Anoka, now you want to work for Wright.
That is certainly what Bob says.
So where do you live over in Anoka area?
I live in Big Lake.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yep. So it's a little bit closer, a much better trip for me.
Even right now with the 25 construction?
Time-wise, it's about the same, even with the ugly traffic.
So it'll get better eventually.
That's right. It will get better, I
Yeah,
have hope.
they're saying when? Next year?
Well,
End of next year when that'll finally be done?
Way before that.
Just before that,
yeah, Monticello should be done in what time, about a month?
month-ish, yeah. The downtown one,
No, just kidding.
but,
So is Corey your supervisor in Anoka County?
To some respect, yes.
Okay. I'm on the magic board with Corey.
That may have been the source of that quote, so.
yeah,
Okay.
it's speculating.
May have been?
May or may not have been.
Well, I've never heard him talk that way, that's all I can say.
Well, welcome, Lindsay.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to Wright County.
You haven't done anything to get them that mad yet.
Board, when we look at our peers and the people who are doing things right, I think Anoka County is one of those peers that are doing a lot of things right. And they had some very talented people. So I'm fortunate that we had an opportunity to entice her to come here to Wright County, and I appreciate your support in allowing me to do that. The next person I want to introduce, and I apologize that I had not introduced, I think you all know her, but Tammy Wright is my chief deputy. If you remember Denise McCullough, she'd come down here and against her will, she would present my items. But Tammy took over as my chief deputy. Tammy's been with us for 12 years, almost 12 years. So come on up and I just want you to keep track of her.
Good morning.
Good morning. Congratulations.
Thank you. I look forward to working as the chief deputy and working with the county commissioners and other departments. So
So you're gonna be able to carry that stack,
I'm gonna have to learn, huh?
No, and I just want to say, Mr. Chair, that every time I've tasked Tammy with the job, it's come back great. I mean, good information, timely information, accurate information, which is good.
Thank you.
Really looking forward.
Great.
Commissioners, as a side note, I will tell you, she's actively getting me to pursue that electronic accounts payable so she doesn't have to carry this basket down here. So show you digitally those
good
bills.
idea.
So board, thank you. That's my administrative staff. I am very happy that I have those two. I've got very good staff and I've now got very good leaders to help me.
Well, either you want to,
And you're losing one.
nice for what we're doing
Oh,
recommendations. either.
yeah, I didn't know if that was appropriate for me to say, but I could return the favor of the quote saying, you guys picked a very good county recorder.
It's right there.
Oh, there she is, right?
Tanya is very instrumental in my office. And I'm struggling trying to figure out how appropriately to replace the impact that she has on my office. The nice thing is that she didn't go that far away.
Yeah.
So I know where she works. I can track her down. Matter of fact, with the elections coming on, even though she will have her responsibilities as a recorder, she still will participate in the elections process at least the remainder of this year, to the degree that she can. I will respect her responsibilities as a recorder.
And as long as we're welcoming people and congratulating people, congratulations,
Yeah,
Tanya, on your
congratulations,
appointment to the county recorder. I think we know you'll do well.
Yeah, we're looking forward to you solving some of the problems that across the hall the auditors have had, so.
Absolutely.
I think this will help a lot.
We packed a sending away basket. We're sending them with her. But no, we are looking forward to maybe not restructuring, but changing the way we do certain businesses to improve the service that Wright County does.
Well, and truth be told, and Mark kind of joked, but when asked what her toughest challenge would be, it was working with the office across the hall in the interview process, but.
Blatant, blunt and honest. Now, she's got a tough bar to hold because Barb was great at counting paper clips. Will you be able to hold up to that high standard of counting the paper clips over there?
I'll sure try.
Okay, Bob, down to item 2, P cards.
Yeah, P cards. Board, just a reminder that we did go live with the utilization of P cards. P cards are what we are using to buy goods. So that process is those bills automatically will get paid. We are perfecting that routing process of approving the transactions, just like we do with the claims, so that I know that all those transactions were legitimate and are properly coded. Again, one of the neat things about bringing Lindsay here from Anoka County is Anoka County, utilizing US Bank, they've got their routine down. So I think we just stepped up in our advancement of figuring out how to, we got the cards out there, now we need to figure out how to bring them before you. This is after the fact, and that's what Anoka County does as well. But my goal is to get these transactions before they're actually paid, so that you can approve them with the commissioner claims. But this gives you an idea of how our cards were used.
Now, looking at these sheets, and I'm assuming the transaction detail is what the P cards have been used, and it says transaction status not reviewed. What does that represent? And then I also see they have purchase ID on some of them, but not on others.
Right.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Delyden, this is the routing process that US Bank will have in place for us. When we went live with the procurement cards, we didn't have approvers set up. So those have subsequently been set up. And that will be our indication of whether or not the card holder or the reconciler of that department will have prepared the bills. And then ultimately, I'll be looking for that approval. Like I would on these claims, I'd be looking for the proper signatures of saying that these are good. We have the source documents as the big thing that we needed to have is, this is just like you would see on your Visa card, what the transaction would look like. We actually have the receipts for every one of these transactions. So.
But then it will say reviewed, and will it say by who, or?
I don't know if it'll say by who, but the only way to say approved would be the appropriate signatures in that flow has the authority to say approved.
Hey, Bob, let's go to one here. I'm looking, and you don't have to necessarily find it on here. It's about 8 pages in if you're counting front and back, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. But grocery superstore, it's Walmart, Super Center. Well, here, it's $271 for this one. How are we supposed to know now? Tell me how we're supposed to know it was purchased?
We'll have the receipt.
You'll have the receipt, but,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. The workflow that we're trying to perfect with US Bank is for the departments to key in the GL code of which they want these transactions coded to, but then to put in that description, like you normally see on your claims list now, wastebasket or chair or, whatever it is.
Well, at least furniture or something. I mean, we don't know if they were buying groceries, buying a television. I mean, with what they sell at Walmart Superstore, you could buy just about anything.
Correct. So, Commissioners, on here,
What will the P card allow them to buy at Walmart? Because the P card is supposed to provide categories of things and certain things you can't buy, and you're only allowed to buy things within the category, correct?
Commissioners, that is correct. Walmart is a little bit different in the fact that we have a small purchase program right now with Walmart. So anything, you can go right today, I'm sorry, before the P card, you could go to the coordinator's office and get the Walmart card and go to Walmart and buy what you need to buy. So at Walmart, we don't have it tightened down.
Okay.
But for example, we can't go to Golf Galaxy and buy things.
Or if you go to a convenience store, perhaps the card would only allow you to buy gas and not something inside the store.
Right, I'll be presenting to you the fleet cards, I think they're called Voyager. And there, we wanted the deputies to have a card versus 3 cards. And they're gonna be limited to fuel, car washes, and very, very few things that they can buy with that. They won't be able to buy food or beverages,
Donuts, for example.
donuts.
And that's the way it was before too with the deputies, correct?
Right, with their holiday and their
Holiday
Cenex
card.
and their BP cards.
But now you only have one account to deal with, the Voyager, which is
Right.
what the state uses.
Right.
Okay, so anyhow, we got to approve the P-card transactions here.
I'll make a motion to approve the procurement card transactions.
I'll second it.
Motion by Delight, second by Potter. Any further discussion?
Bob, are we going to be getting these reports every week, or how does this work?
Once a month.
Okay.
Or just the
And-
executive summary and have this
Yeah.
online?
do we-
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I'm still working with US Bank to figure out which beneficial report I can get out of there.
Okay.
I think giving you this
this-
report is okay, but it's not telling you, like Pat said, it's not telling you what did you buy at Walmart.
And it's, a lot of paper,
Well, yeah, because you're right, it's a
You
lot
know-
of, it's a lot of paper, and
Everything
a
else.
lot of paper.
to some extent, it almost raises more questions than answers
But
things
we,
in a way, but.
we really don't need to know what it was, as long as it was reviewed by a department
If it-
head or a
it's-
supervisor.
Exactly, if it's reviewed and approved, it seems to me that perhaps this,
If we wanted to check on.
Well,
Commissioners, I will explore what limited information I can give to you, but ultimately having you that authority to approve these.
Well, the only problem is if a department head has a P card, somebody needs to be verifying that,
right,
you know?
yeah.
I know that, all these transactions will flow through my office. And as the auditor, we do execute certain review procedures. So it's maybe approved by them, but it's still got to go through us before it gets to you. And then you get to look at it and you give the final approval.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
I-
Pose same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Approve a plot to preserve at Sugar Lake.
Yes, Board, we have received a plat called the Preserves of Sugar Lake. This is in Corinna Township. This is a rezoning thing, so, Board, you are in the position of having to approve the plat in Corinna Township.
Yeah, I
The
think-
Mylars are in the back office.
I think this one actually is in Corinna Township. I know we had an issue with one a while back, but at least most of Sugar Lake is in Corinna Township, so that would seem right, so.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the plat.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, second by Commissioner Delyden. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
I-
Pose same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Item 4, Open Gov.
Board, it appears like this is coming up very fast to Wright County. OpenGov is a product that I've been looking at for about a year. I was not an initial, let's get it going. But more recently, in challenging OpenGov to present to me something that says, aha, okay, I get it. I get how I can improve the transparency of reporting financially. Each month, I give you a budget report that has 59 pages and it's full of GL codes. But Commissioner Delyden, you keep asking me, how can we improve the transparency to the public? Well, I took it as a responsibility to tell the public about our financial operations, but also to improve what I can give to you, and ultimately what I can give back to the departments. So I challenged the people at OpenGov to impress me, show me how I can do this better. So what I'd like to say is, I was looking for that tool to improve the transparency and the efficiency of beneficial information. What I see now is a toolbox. There is the financial presentation of OpenGov, but there's a whole bunch of this non-financial stuff that Sarah Wise from OpenGov will show you. Some of that could be, for example, like the deer motor vehicle accidents, and how we can use that information to improve our communication to the deer as to when it's appropriate to cross our streets, where and when. So, but with that,
That'd be nice.
the next item on my agenda is to have you approve the May guidelines. But what I wanted to do was take this proof of concept. I've been working with OpenGov, giving them public data through a secure portal. I've done this without having to engage IT. It's a web-based solution. So what I have here is the 2016 budget. Audience can't see that, but the 2016 budget is the farthest to the right column. The actual expenditures to date are the next columns to the left. So obviously we haven't spent our whole budget. I'm going to show you the monthly budgets that it's going to show you prorated budget.
Can I, sorry to interrupt, but is there any sort of a timetable in needing this done today relative to 2 or 3 weeks from now? I mean, is there is there a cost savings if you do it before the end of June, or is there?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, yes, there is an incentive for us to move forward with it quickly. You know, this hasn't gone to the Technology Committee, and I respect that. This is a project that I would definitely be putting on the horizon. The funding of this, Board, I'm going to be bringing to you a resolution. We had the audit exit. Financially, Wright County did very well again in 15. I've brought these before in the past about approving a transfer of funds from the general fund to the capital projects funds. The capital technology fund does need funding. There are other projects already out there, but this would be one of those projects that would be funded by that transfer. And we could do that transfer now, and so really all I'm asking you is to approve that prior to next year's competition. But yes, Sarah will talk about the incentives for us to move forward quickly. So the public can't see this. Right away, it draws my attention to that the revenues are far less than the expenses. Well, we've all known this, that we don't settle tax settlement until June. So then, where they were giving me the, how can I use this to better educate myself visually of what's going on in the county and then also communicate to you. This is the graph that shows a prorated budget. What our 2016 5/12 of our budget and how are we doing on expense-wise. So again, you know, we're under budget on expenses, but we're way under revenues. And again, if I were to click on the revenues, this is a Mac, so. Again, you can see that taxes is the biggest category of our budget, and the actual, you'll see that's very small. So right away, I can see that we're behind on taxes. But as I drill into it, and I can start poking around at these, I can look at the fees and charges, and I can see that graphically, it seems like we are just shy of our budget. But like our boarding of prisoners, again, is doing pretty well. That's that purple bar. So again, this is that item that I've drawn your attention to in the past, how we've chased this budget up. We're benefiting by other counties having contracts and then sending their prisoners our way. But we increased our budget, and yet we're still exceeding our budget.
So, are we gonna be able to color these differently? I mean, like, the difference between the budgeted and the actual is just some lines going through it. Might be harder to see if it's a smaller print.
Commissioners, absolutely. I mean, this is, you know, the last 36 days or whatever, trying to develop a proof of concept. You know, could they get my detail? And what they've done with me giving them files and giving it back to me this way, it's pretty impressive. But yes, we'll be able to tweak this. We'll be able to tweak titles.
If you go online to their website, you can go to a number of different cities and counties and see how they do it. I spent some time online yesterday looking at it. their website. And then Anoka County also uses it.
Or the other thing before I forget, I just want to show you that, there's certain things I'm going to repeat, or there's going to be a significant event that happened that I will draw your attention to. I have the ability to add notes out here. So for example, I know that there's notes out here in this view, and this view is the annual budget. So right here, I have a note. It's up here. Remember in 16, we didn't budget a balanced budget. We did budget a use of fund balance for the road and bridge fund. Remember, we had collected these fees from the prior year, and we didn't want to double levy for it, so we adopted a levy short of the expenses by that revenue we had already collected. And I'd have those notes out there. Again, this is a Mac, so I don't know how to get up there. So anyways, this is a tool that I can give you how are we doing financially. Now I'd like to introduce Sarah Wise from OpenGov. She's going to give you a couple ideas of the non-financial data, which I kind of alluded to the deer, but she's going to give you some other useful things. And I do know that some of our departments could use this program, have expressed interest in using it. So.
Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. As Bob mentioned, there's tons of different things we can do within OpenGov in terms of reporting. Sky is really the limit. As long as you have a data set with a date and an amount, whether that's a quantity or a dollar amount, we're going to be able to help you visualize that. Some of the reports that Bob just covered with you, your P-card transactions and all your claims, you could actually visualize and just have a link within OpenGov that you could pull up and be able to access that information on a regular basis from your iPod or Surface or whatever you may use. So there's lots of options. Some of the other things that we can do this is the deer incident report that Bob loves. So we can actually see exactly where those incidents are. So we can filter it by address. We can see what kinds of vehicles were involved. Was there a vehicle involved? We can drill into that. Yes, there was a vehicle involved. What was the address where those vehicles were involved? So we can drill down and then pivot back and forth and really take static reports and make them actionable so you can use the information to help you drive decisions. Every day you guys are making decisions based on what's best for the county, but this actually allows you to take that information and really understand the data supporting it. So for example, you have your jail census. So Allegheny County in Pennsylvania, but they put up their jail census information. So we can, drill into that. I was playing with this earlier. I can look at it by gender, and then even from there, I can drill in. Obviously, most of their inmates are male, and then I can, drill into race. So it's whatever information you want to track, and again, you can kind of filter back and forth. Based off of that. And then, those kind of information, understanding the census can help you, determine what you need to do in terms of your facilities. Another really good example is Allegheny also does fatal overdoses. So when you're talking about coroner's reports and understanding programs to help you, fight and address your drug issues. Not that you guys have any, but Allegheny County does. I think a lot of counties do. But some of the things that we can drill into, and I personally find this very interesting. I can go cause of death, and they have all the different types of causes off to the side. I can drill down specifically and say, I just want to look at heroin as the reason, and then I can flip that again. So I've just narrowed it down to heroin. And I can say, what is the sex of those that have been, the gender. Most of them are male, so I can drill in, and then I can go from there and, clicked off, sorry. I can drill into, age range, and I can see that, predominantly they are in the 30 to 39 age range, and then I can also drill in down. So I can tell right away from the data that, of the heroin deaths, most of them are males within the ages of 30 to 39 and white. As an example. So, and then this can help you, decide whether or not you want to fund additional programs around public safety or if you need to increase, coroner services or charge more or do whatever the case may be. So it's financial in terms of what Bob has already shared, but there's so much more that you can do as long as you have the data sets to upload into OpenGov.
So is there any software that we currently own that becomes obsolete as a result of us getting this?
Potentially. I'm not sure I can answer that per se. I don't know what all systems that you guys are currently using, but it definitely can support different systems that you are operating that don't have the visualization and the detailed reporting. that OpenGov
Well,
provides.
And I guess specifically, I'm asking if we pay $38,000 a year for this, do we save any money on anything else, other software we don't need?
Right.
So you're not sure, aware of any?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure because we haven't done an analysis on your current systems for me to be able to speculate.
But where are the cost savings that Bob alluded to? that
Right,
if
so right
make a
now we have
decision
a couple of offers in play that we're hoping to get Wright County a part of. So for the main one is for all, our executives have made the decision for all governments that are signed by June 30th. We have 3 new features that are rolling out. One is dashboards, so each one of you could have your own unique dashboard for the specific reports that you want to watch or monitor, your specific projects that you want to keep an eye on. You could all have your own individual dashboards to be able to drill in and look at that information. The second one is projections, so when we're looking at the budgets, we can actually project out through the end of the fiscal year, so that helps Bob monitor, hey, are we trending on track within our revenues and expenses? And then the third piece of that is the mapping feature, where we can actually come in and take any data where we have a map involved, and we can plot those addresses so you can do your capital improvement projects. This is a map of all the houses and properties in Detroit that are scheduled for demolition, and then we can, narrow that down and pivot the same way that we could any of the other reports. So that's the other piece of it. Those would get grandfathered in. Effective the first part of July, they are going to increase the cost. It hasn't been determined exactly what that increase is, whether they're going to increase the overall package rate or if they're going to charge those as add-on features. We're all anxiously waiting for the final decision on that. So this would be part of what we would be grandfathering you in, so you'd have those additional features at no cost. The other piece of it is the budget piece to help develop the budget within OpenGov that can be exported once finalized to your IFS system. And we are currently offering that at half price, and that goes away. For the first year, we're offering it at half price, and that goes away as of July 1st as well.
And when were we advised of all these going away on July 1st? All these savings and?
Bob and I have been talking
benefits?
for quite a while, and I think we first talked about it late May. Trying to remember exactly when we spoke to those offers specifically.
So a month ago.
Well, Commissioners, it is about a month and a half ago that I was really challenging with them to impress me. I mean, show me how I would use OpenGov here at Wright County in Minnesota. So it's actually after that we started making traction about we called it the aha moments, so I actually have graphs called Bob's aha revenues and Bob's aha expenses. It was after that we started talking about financial incentives and things like that. So, Board, it really wasn't on my radar to actually acquire this product. It is a product that's been used by at least 10 other municipalities.
10 counties in Minnesota.
10 counties. Anoka County was one that I think I sent you the link to it. It was actually about a month ago that I started buying into how I could use this. I don't want a tool that's just going to sit here. I want to figure out how I can use this program. Then it was the incentives.
And I went on Anoka's website, and just because we can do it doesn't necessarily mean it's of a value. And there are certain things that I can see is helpful. But I also sat in a technology meeting where IT is so far behind right now, even though this is a cloud-based system, without trying to figure out where else it can be utilized, and if there really is a cost savings. I can't, at this point, recommend it, and I would actually like to send it to the IT committee. And I know we'll probably lose the incentives, but if they're serious about working with us, maybe they'll
Right.
sweeten the pot later.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Deline, if I can say, the utilization of OpenGov right now, I'm already doing through the a secure file transfer. So the deployment of OpenGov right now doesn't take a lot of IT involvement. I think where we would go next could do that, and I would respectfully say that, I would want to have IT involved with any further deployment. But as far as the deployment of financial information to you and to the public, I think we're already there. It is a drag and drop type of program. I've already been doing it for 30 days, modifying the information out there. So I respectfully, IT would be involved going forward, but already I'm saying today this is a product that I can use to improve the transparency of our financial data, improve the information going out to the departments, as far as them helping them develop their budgets that we're gonna be working on here pretty soon, let alone of the budget thing that's in development with OpenGov. That's a product I see down the road that we're gonna really deploy here at Wright County. That's where we're gonna put all of our source documents, and that's something Lee and I are gonna work together on.
Let's see, that's in development, so we don't know exactly what the advantage of it is yet.
Well, it is out there, and Anoka County is utilizing that program. It's, where does it go from there? I mean, I have my taste as to what I like to present to you, so that you can visually walk through the budget. For example, the last year's budget, what you've already approved, then see the staff requests all by themselves, and then the departmental changes. It draws your attention to where you want to look at those budgets.
But I can see that with the numbers. I don't need a bar graph to show me.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. I mean, I think you can create impressive slideshows, you know, PowerPoint things with it. The same information can be relayed, perhaps not with the same visual enthusiasm, but you can still get that information another way without necessarily having to pay anything for it. I do have a question. It seems to me like there's two contracts in here, and maybe I'm the only one who doesn't understand why, but why is there two contracts in here with different numbers?
Yeah, the numbers, yes, so there are two different contracts. There's one that is a 5-year annual agreement, where the payments would be broke down on an annual basis. And then there's a second agreement that is for a full upfront payment, which you would receive an additional discount associated
That's
for
what that
paying
is,
upfront.
paying all the
Yeah.
cash up front.
So it was just giving you the option depending on whether or not you wanted that additional savings.
Board, and I believe OpenGov would be open to us not going with both products. That 38,000 is for both products.
That's the budget as well as the full OpenGov Intelligence platform, which is what you're seeing here, with the unlimited reporting and tools. So we could split up the contract if that would be, more beneficial for you to at least get started, especially getting the incentives of the new features. And then if you wanted to wait on the budget piece, you definitely could. You would lose out on the half price for year one.
I would suggest if you were serious about having us, that something could be figured out to make that work. And I can tell you, and I think many people are just like me, that when you go somewhere and it's only on sale today, and after we give it our due diligence and go through our real process of figuring it out, it's no longer on sale, then maybe it's not a sale after all. And I think this is probably not the only board of commissioners in the world that's going to feel that way.
Sure. I can tell you that we're over 1,000 governments currently. We have 23 governments in Minnesota. We are adding a new government a day to the platform. In fact, we just signed 16 contracts last week. So this is something that is, our goal is to be in over 10,000 governments on a very quick basis. And being able to leverage that data across the board, especially in Minnesota, there's, with the county momentum that we've got going here, the ability to go in and be able to say, okay, what are we spending on police vehicles in comparison to the other counties, and being able to share and benchmark against that and say, oh, wait, our goal is to have the system so it will pop up with a note that says, hey, you're budgeting for, upwards in the 98th percentile, where, the other counties that are using the system are budgeting much less for the same vehicles. You may
I would
wanna
agree with
relook
you.
at
That was an interesting.
So there's a lot that's coming with that,
But that's here right now or not here, or that's what you hope to get to?
we are working on, we've got comparisons, which is the benchmarking piece, in place today. And then that's part of what's coming in terms of the direction that we're heading with that. And we are working all of our products, including the budget comparisons. We've got a slew of customers that are serving as beta on that. Winona County, for example, is a beta customer and has already bought into the budgets. And Ken Fritz there, we're working very diligently on, and he's actually, providing us additional insights to make sure that we're building the platform in the best way possible.
Excuse me, which of these categories of things includes that comparison with other counties?
That would be through the OGI, the OpenGov Intelligence transparency piece.
And Mr. Chair.
Intelligence and Budget Builder bundle that component?
Yes.
So, like I say, that sounds like in the future that might have value. Right now, if you don't have a database of counties to compare it to, and we're paying for it starting July 1, we're paying good money for something that where the analysis doesn't necessarily exist today, so.
Right. The comparisons piece is there. You can do some comparison against other entities. It's where the actual pop-up that says, hey, you're, spending in the 98th percentile, that's what's coming. But the comparison piece is there.
Charlie?
I guess my question, when you do come up with these new features, like the one you just talked about, is it going to just be added onto the thing, or here's an extra 3,000 a year, here's an extra 5,000 a year?
Correct. So that's a very good question. At this point, any additional build out to the existing modules is things that are automatically getting grandfathered in for existing customers. Any additional price changes, like, we're adding in the new features, all existing customers will get grandfathered into those. If they do price adjustments moving forward for those features, that depends. But, as an existing customer, you would be locked into those. And that's one of the, the great things about, signing today versus waiting, is because we're building the product fast. We've got top computer scientists and government finance individuals in Silicon Valley that are building out the platform. We're pushing, new functionality every week in order to meet the ongoing demands of what our customers are asking for. So, and again, this is built exclusively and specifically for government. We're the only platform out there that handles multi-fund accounting, and in support of this. So
Do you have an office in Minnesota?
we do not. Not at this time.
I see the headquarters is California. but-
Yeah, we're headquartered in Redwood City, California. I personally am in northern Indiana, is where I reside. I've been up here 3 out of the last 5 weeks. I'm up here a lot. But as we continue to build a contingency, then yeah, the chances of us putting a office here are pretty high.
Mr. Chair, I got a question. How would this, because Technology Committee would like to see this to see how it plays into everything. Is there a way to approve this contingently with Technology Committee, come back with a recommendation, yes, we're for it, no, still get all the little freebies, incentives and all that?
I would have to escalate that to my management team. Right now, the deal is for a signed agreement by June 30th for that to be in play. I'd be more than happy to escalate that in order to get permission. I don't personally have the authority to do that.
Okay, because Bob gave me a little demonstration about a month ago with this, and it was kind of impressive, but and I apologize, Bob, for not saying, did the Technology Committee look at this first? Because, the question has been raised is, how does this deal with IT and everything
Right.
else? And it's something, it's
Sure.
a new product, and it's a lot of questions.
Sure.
I'm trying to figure out how we're getting a 50% discount
So-
on that 22,000, when the
Yeah.
total for year one is $33,162 for 2016, and then it's 38,000 going forward. So I only see a savings of about $5,000.
Right. So the way we priced it was the best way that we could for your benefit. So if we were basically listing them as 2 separate products for year one to get the half price off of the budget, and then ongoing, once you bundle them all together, there's additional savings involved there moving forward.
Half price mark, because only half a year is going to be used.
Yeah,
So,
but it's 33,000.
Yep.
I just,
Well, I see what it's a different, it's more before there's a discount. I don't know. Yeah, I see what you're saying there.
Mr. Chair?
Chris?
Yep. I'm not, very much of a techie person.
Sure.
It looks like a great program, and I like, the narratives that pop up and that kind of thing, because I'm sort of visual. But I, too, I think that's great that you've got this incentive going. However, I do feel that it needs to go through the Technology Committee, and just for the implementation, even though it may cost us more in a couple of weeks, but it just seems to me that as great as it is, it maybe needs to be vetted a little bit more.
Sure.
But
Just, as Bob alluded to, we've been working on this for quite a while. All these reports over here off to the side, this is all already built with Wright County data. So, if you guys were to approve this and sign today, Bob wants to go through and do some, fine tweaking and kind of really going through it with a fine tooth comb from the financial perspective. But you essentially could go live. Your time to value on this is next to nothing because we've already invested the money on our end and the time and the resources to build this out to prove to you that we are committed to the project and that we are, we deliver on our promises and say what we do and can deliver on that. So we've already invested quite a bit to make, obviously that means that there's no pressure on you. You guys could very easily say no, and that's a risk that we take as a company. But, we pride ourselves on customer love and on trust and delivering what we say. So it's, a directive from our CEO that we don't even sign contracts until we've done a proof of concept because we want to prove to you that we can deliver on what we say. So it's already pretty much built and ready to go.
Yeah, the problem is we see it up here, but we haven't had a chance to really look at it.
Sure.
So if you built it, if we would have had a chance to play with it and drill down on it, like I said, I was on your website, I went to
Sure.
look at some of the other ones, and yes, it's nice, but just because it looks nice, I don't see as much of the value at this point with compared to what we've been doing for spending $38,000 a year.
Charlie?
I just mentioned that on the IT committee as well as Mark, and we have, Adam and Sherry are here, and maybe it would be nice to have one of them come up and speak, but we have about 100 and some different projects that are in the queue waiting already because we don't have the staff to bring them all. I think we're actively working on 38 or something like that we're involved with, and I don't know how much IT time this would take. And I know, Bob, you spoke to it a little bit, but that would be the main thing, other than to evaluate it out. Even if it was to be advantageous to us, do we have the staff? Do we have the time to implement this? I guess that's my concern.
And I could speak to the fact that, in all honesty, we work with very few IT departments because there's really not a need, unless they're the ones actually pulling the financial reports out of your IFS system, which is, to my understanding, is not the case. That's Bob and his team is doing that. We don't typically work with the IT teams because it's just the data sets that are getting pulled and uploaded, and there's no real requirement on their end. So
Because this is cloud-based.
because it is cloud-based, which I know, Adam and I spoke earlier, and I answered some of his hosting questions and things like that as well. But yeah, it's very minimal, and, there's really not a need from the IT perspective, so.
But the other issue is to utilize it and get our full value out of it for the other different departments. Who's going to do that? Who's going to get that information? Are you guys going to do all that?
So we have.
For 38,000, you
Yeah,
guys
no,
aren't
we
going to,
have a
you
full
aren't going to do
customer,
that.
that's a great question. We have a customer success team. Bob has already been working diligently with Meredith and Christine. Our job is to make sure you guys are successful. I don't want you to invest in something you're not going to use. So our customer success team will help you write the reports, format the data accordingly. That's all on us. We will also do departmental head training so that they understand how they can go in and look at their individual budgets and look at budgets to actuals and be able to, bookmark that and have that as a saved view that they can go through. So your sheriff doesn't have to go in and filter through everybody else's information to get exactly what he wants to see. It can already be filtered and saved. He can just have it as a bookmark. He clicks on it. He sees his budgets to actuals on a regular basis. Same for you guys. You'd have your own individual dashboards. All of that is going to be resting on our customer success team to help you get all that set up, working with Bob to make sure that we're aligning everything correctly per your requests.
Adam, did you have any input you wanted to provide us on this, or I know you haven't really been involved with it.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. This is the first demo I've seen of the product. Now, it looks really good. One of my, I guess, I can't offer an endorsement on something I haven't seen yet. I don't know how many departments were involved with the proof of concept, but one of my concerns is if we're selling this as, and really gonna maximize the use of it through all the departments, they need to know what they're getting into. So my recommendation would be to bring it to the technology committee so we can at least see, that's one of the goals of the technology committee is to have all the departments communicate, see what's out there, take a look at things that are gonna impact the entire enterprise. I guess I'd be interested in seeing where else we could use this product if we're gonna move forward with it. I'm not sure if GIS has seen this, but they have a mapping functionality. I'm not sure if the sheriff's office has seen this. They have crime mapping functionality. These are other things that we currently have. So seeing if there's additional cost savings by reducing the amount of other systems, if this would be an adequate replacement for those. Seeing Anoka County using it in a lot of the other counties, it looks to be a good product, so it's definitely not a no for me. I would just like to explore further.
Well, it would seem to me if we took some time to look at it, and everybody thought it was great, this thing could go live like on January 1st or something like that. And by virtue of not paying for anything for 6 months, we more than save what this savings would be anyhow. Perhaps there would still be some savings there. You have time and money invested into it. I guess the company can decide whether they want to walk away from that or whether they, how much they want to keep us here. But I don't see a huge loss in waiting some time to vet this thing, Charlie.
And this would be to Sarah or Bob. When the information that you put in here now, you entered it in, you went through some of our things and pulled it up to give an example. What about down the road? Like, we have a system right now, people come in, they enter in. Is this going to have to be double entered, or will it come right out of our system?
Great question. So all we're doing is pulling reports out of IFS and uploading those into OpenGov. So once we that's all we've been doing. We're not manipulating the data. We're not duplicate data entry. It's an extract and upload into the system. So Bob will and his team will be trained on how, we already have the correct reports. That's how we're getting the data now. And then he'll just be shown how to update that. Whether he does that on a daily, weekly, monthly basis is up to him on how current he wants the information.
So that is an extra process. So, what amount of time, I guess, is involved in doing that? Maybe?
On average for our customers, it takes 3 to 5 minutes to upload the data.
Now, on your website, it showed free trials. So how long is a free trial for? Or is this what it?
This is the proof of concept. Yep. Yeah. So we've been working on it for quite a while. Obviously, if you guys decide not to move forward today, we'd have to look at how long we could keep it live before we'd pull it down and kind of put it in the back pocket until you guys were ready to.
I'm pretty sure they wouldn't want to throw it away.
Yeah, it's not going away. We've invested a lot of time on it.
If I can add.
Go ahead, Bob.
That, the financial aspect of it by itself, forget the budget, forget the non-financial data, which would be would be less than the 33,000. This is a step towards recognizing we're the 10th largest county, recognizing that we need to be more transparent with the public, and just ability to give you that information. I can create some of these graphs myself today, but if I'm up here at the podium and you want me to, well, what about this, or how much is just on that component? I can't take my static reports and break them down. This was my aha part of this product, was my ability to on the fly give you information that you want to have.
So how about if we, for $10,614.14, would help you OpenGov Budget Builder, that would show us this year, with dealing with the budget here coming up, if we gave you that, it would help us dealing with the budget this year, and we would get a real good feel of it. And that would have no impact on our IT staff. And we would be able to continue evaluating to see if there's some savings. And at the end of the year, when we're done with this budget cycle, we either move forward or we don't. Would something like that be a fair?
Commissioner DeLine, so maybe Sarah heard it, but you're saying that we would go live with the financial reporting part of it, forget the budget?
No, I'm saying OpenGov Budget Builder, EAP, it's $10,614. So would that benefit us for the budget this coming cycle.
Commissioner, I can speak before Sarah that, no, I don't have enough experience with that. It's still, it's being utilized, other people are developing it. That's a concept that we'd be using for maybe the 7 or the 18 budget. I would not be deploying that. I would be kicking the tires and figuring out how to do it so we perfect it for the next cycle, but I would
Well,
not be
there's
using.
no, so to me, if we spend a few months on this and get it live January 1st, everything's fine, if it's a great product.
Well, it sounds like, yeah, there's no benefit to signing up at this point, because we wouldn't be able to utilize it for the budget.
I was just going to say, I think if you were, trying to look at narrowing down the pricing options, you're better off, looking at the OGI, the Open Gov Intelligence and Transparency Bundle, and scratching the budget for now, because this is, the OGI, this is what you're seeing here. The ability to drill down, as Bob said, as you guys are here and having your meetings and being able to ask specific questions. Well, where are we with this line down? How does that affect the budget? This becomes your source of fiscal truth that you can literally have up in meetings and be able to pull it and know right then and there where you stand to be able to make decisions. A really good example is Sausalito, City of Sausalito in California. They were literally in a council meeting, and one of the council members said they were having discussions around benefits. And they said, we want to understand what the percent of PERS is against, the total overall budget, but take out the fire department because it was just annexed, and take out all one-time charges. And they were literally able to do it within a few clicks within OpenGov and provide that answer right during the council meeting, as opposed to having to table the discussion and come back later. They were able to see the information instantaneously and make a decision. So it makes you more effective, gives your reports action as opposed to static reports, because you can drill down and pivot back and forth within the data. I think you're going to see a much bigger return on the OpenGov Intelligent piece in the short run than you would the budget, just given the timing of it. And I think this would, again, provide you a much better benefit. I can very quickly and easily change the contract to remove the budget piece. The terms and the conditions would remain the same.
You're still gonna be in business a few months from now, right?
I hope so. We're not going anywhere.
So
That
it
is not
sounds
the
like we
plan.
can get it a few months from now.
But you would be losing potentially the pricing
Well, we'll
difference
see.
for OGI. Yeah.
And that's okay, but if we don't buy it for 6 months, we just save $18,000 there, so,
Mr.
which
Chair.
is more than the savings was.
Yeah,
Mike?
and I got a little demonstration. You can see where there's a benefit and value to this, but I still have that part of me that I still want to run it through technology committee to see, maybe there's other software programs this will replace and save us some money and therefore basically pay for it.
Yeah.
And I do want Adam, as our IT guy, to make sure he's fully aware of what it is, what impact, because I don't want to just blindly approve it and then all of a sudden lay another problem on his lap, because he's got enough to deal with right now. So with that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to refer this to the technology committee for further review, and they can make a recommendation back to the full board at a later date.
Motion by Commissioner Potter, send to technology.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Hewsom. Now, remember, we need to get this done anyhow, because you only got 2 more days to get to these other 77 counties before June 30th.
We're working on it.
Are you the only salesperson in Minnesota?
It's split between myself and another girl. She has the smaller governments, I have the larger.
And you've got cities, of course, too, I presume,
Yes,
so. Okay,
yes.
well, you've got a lot of ground to cover.
I do.
In 2 days. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Board, the last item on the agenda.
And probably the technology committee will be seeing more of you.
Yes, I hope so.
Board, the last item on the agenda is to approve the May budget reports.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Deline, second by Commissioner Burrell. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Board, thank you for the opportunity to demo OpenGov. I do believe in the product. I think it'll improve the transparency, improve the efficiency, but I respect that you want to kick it to the technology.
The
The only thing is that I don't want it to die on technology. So they have 101 projects. I will be beating the drum. Let's see this, let's see what it can do.
Well, and Bob, if Tanya's right and it does not involve IT, then it's just a matter of evaluating and see, is it going to help the sheriff's department, and they can drop some program and we can come back and tell the board, we're gonna save $10,000 over here directly because this will,
I'd take pressure off the IT because there'll be less stuff, so.
Great.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you already passed the motion, so thank you.
We're not out to kill this thing.
I know, I'm an elected official, I'll make sure it doesn't die.
Mark Matthijs, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Here today to ask for awarding a bid for Park Road parking area grading aggregate base culverts and turf project as part of our Phase 1 development. In front of you, you should have a summary of the bids and the breakdown. Just to give you a little more just go back a little bit to refresh some memories. We applied for a grant and was awarded $700,000 in park legacy money for Phase 1 development at Bertram Park. That project included some project planning, the access road parking, the bid we're looking at today, 2 trail bridges, a 65-foot arch bridge, a 40-foot flat bridge, day use area, restrooms, changing area and storage facility, reconstruction of a 4-season rental facility, picnic shelter, some trail establishment, and other day use improvements. This part of the project I budgeted at included the grading, the turf, the aggregate placement, all that, as well as burying the electrical overhead utility lines and bringing services to the facilities we wanted. I budgeted at $300,000 for those 2 projects. This project is coming in at $269,843.75, leaving us with a balance of just over $30,000, and I believe I'm getting the electrical stuff for right around 29. So for that phase of the project, I'm coming within budget. Bye.
And this is gonna,
Slim margin if you think of $1,000 over 300.
is this, you plan on doing this right after Labor Day? Was that the deal?
This will be done after Labor Day.
Okay.
Contract would be awarded for after Labor Day construction. Clearing and grubbing probably taking place that week. We're going to try not to do any grading at that time because we will be hosting the Monticello High School Invitational Cross Country Meet where they had like 1,300 runners last year. And we'll be the new host for that rather than the golf course out on 39.
Cool.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Delay and second by Potter. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Brian, purchase agreement for sale of property at Neighbor Avenue.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Full disclosure, I haven't cloned myself. I have 2 items, and I put in separate agenda requests, which Susan has chastised me for, so I'll make sure I list them together in the future. The first item, yes, has to do with what we refer to as the Chenard property. The county acquired this about 10 years ago as part of a bridge project over by St. Michael. We've tried selling it in the past. This time, the board set a reserve figure for the online auction, and that reserve figure was met. The high bid was Omen Properties at $185,000. They also pay a premium, I can't remember what it's called, but it's
Buyer's premium.
Buyer's premium, and so the total contract price for them will be $199,800. We will have some closing costs, and there's one possibility that we may have to seal a well. There's an existing well there that has not been in use but has not been sealed yet.
Okay.
Fairly minor cost, but that would be the seller's responsibility if Ullman decides that he does not want to use that well, so.
What was the number that we, after talking with Omen, they told us we'd get and that we agreed we wouldn't sell it for less than? What was the amount?
The board set a reserve price of $170,000. I think Lampy initially had said that, it might sell for upwards of 200 or something like that, so we're.
I know we picked a number lower than they said and, a little bit, okay. Okay. I think it's time to get rid of this property.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Delay and second by Commissioner Potter. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Post same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
And the next
Fifth time's
item.
the charm, huh?
Wait, what's that?
The 5th time's the charm?
Yeah.
That's about how many times I think we tried different things, but.
The next item came up kind of out of the blue. BNSF Railroad, actually a consultant working for them, an engineering firm, contacted the assessor's office a few weeks ago and asked who they should deal with if they wanted a temporary construction easement on county fairgrounds property. Hopefully you have an aerial photo there which kind of explains the area they're dealing with. I can put that up on the projector here as well. There is a culvert that the railroad wants to replace. Maybe I need to, oh, there we go, okay. There's a culvert that the railroad wants to replace that goes somewhere between these two bodies of water, wetlands, basically. This is DNR property west of the fairgrounds. According to the person I've had contact with, the majority of the work would be on the south side of the tracks, but in the event they need to do some work on the north end, the easiest access for them is to cross the tracks here, come across this county property. There's actually a dirt road there right now, and then come up a little bit further and access the DNR property. So they're dealing with both the county and the DNR in terms of access to the north side of where this culvert needs to be replaced. This, of course, is parking area. The document, I think there's some underlined language in the temporary construction easement document, and that is language that I added, so they hopefully would not interfere with the county fair next year. They're hoping to do the work this fall, but it's a matter of funding. It's possible it could go into 2017 sometime. And so I got an email late yesterday saying that the county or that BNSF has agreed to the changes that I suggested. So at this point, they're in agreement with the document as you're seeing it.
Say, Brian, I got a question, because it seems like every time we need the railroad for something, it's hide and seek, and where are they, and who do we contact, and whenever they need something, they just find us and we go ahead and give them permission. Is there anything that we need done from them right now that maybe we need to say, we'll be happy to sign this as soon as you take care of this thing? Because otherwise, guess what? You can't figure out who you're supposed to talk to. It takes forever and nothing gets accomplished.
Come up with a better spraying program.
Is there anything we can ask them to do right now that they need to take care of in the next couple of weeks, and then we'll be happy to sign this form?
Come up with
It hasn't been taken care of that we've been waiting for.
Mr. Chair, personally, I'm not, but
I guess anybody else needs
we have
something
several
to-
BNSF tracks
They can
just
go through
bring
the
that up
county.
because it seems like that's how it works.
They could come up with a much better spraying program for their parsnip.
Mr. Chair, they're really hard to work with, and it take a long time to get something done, except for when they want something, then they come here quick. I mean, it took 10 years to get the culvert behind my house done with those people, and that city worked really hard on that. I mean, getting railroad crossing's been a real challenge. The viaduct in Waverly is about 20 years overdue for something. I mean, now they got an I-beam is sitting in there to help support the whole darn thing. At what point in time do we, because we don't seem to have much power to make them do anything. But here they want us to come and snap fingers and let's get this going, but a request that is a public safety, because if that viaduct goes down, they got a lot bigger problems than replacing a culvert out in Howard Lake. And that's my concern, is that they seem to give us the cold shoulder on fixing things here.
They did come to a meeting, though, a couple of years ago. We had some things with the ditch 38, and they did send a representative out on. Bob's not here right now, but.
So we got eight years to wait then to get something done there? 2 years?
They'll send a representative out, they haven't done anything.
Well, it was, they kind of gave us options and pricing. It was not a good thing for us.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, it is tough to link,
Right.
different projects in different parts of the county, and maybe one of the best arguments we can make is that we took a look at this and we didn't delay them in their implementation of whatever they're doing, and therefore we deserve the same.
How about when we send this back to them, send them a letter requesting the spraying of the wild parsnips in the area of Cokato and Howard Lake within their right of way, or something like that. I don't know, would that make sense, or?
Yeah, but the thing is, it will be gone to seed by.
Well, I know, I'm just, Like I say, it just seems like, right now we maybe have a captive audience with them and other times not so much, so it's, the tracks don't run through my district, but.
Mr. Chair, that culvert they're replacing is on the same line that the Waverly Viaduct is on, so it's not like it's completely different, it's on the same area, and I'm not sure how long they've
They're
been.
putting a new one
talking
into Waverly.
They?
They're working on it already.
They got a plan in?
Nope, they're putting the pylons on down already, and there will not be
It's
a
on right
center.
now.
There won't be a center thing, it will be a clear span all the way
There we go.
across.
Okay, with that in mind, why don't we go ahead and approve
So
this?
move, I'll make a motion, Mr.
I'll
Chair.
second
Motion
that.
by Potter, second by Delight, any further discussion?
Christine, you need to speak up.
All in
No.
favor, say aye.
They keep giving credit to Potter.
Oh,
I blocked it.
no, you two were first, she was third.
I blocked it.
She was
I blocked
third.
the voice. You had to
All
go
in favor,
around.
say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries unanimous.
Chris, you gotta figure the speed of sound, you
I
gotta
know,
talk
yeah.
sooner.
You gotta throw your voice.
I thought I was louder than Potter the last time.
Mr. Wilczek, come on up. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Back from last week after our bid opening for the exterior lighting RFP, if I can get the Elmo up again, just put the,
Want the Elmo up?
yeah, put the tabulation that we had pulled together at the last opening meeting. It's the same numbers that you saw last time, but just went through last week, over the last few days, vetted out those bids, made sure that everything is accurate. Essentially, you know, you can't see it very good. I've got extra copies if I may just distribute, or are you going to see these numbers?
Yeah, why don't we see them as long as you got them?
Just give them all to me, I'll pass them on.
The main thing I'm curious about is whether or not you intend to do the new poles out at the Historical Society, because I don't necessarily
Yeah,
know
so
that
the
I believe
discussion-
they're necessary, but.
So the discussion on these items, essentially, my recommendation would be for Loberg Electric. They're priced at $100,938 for the base price, whereas Olson and Sons for their product was $112,013 after I vetted those fixtures. Essentially, what we need to do is determine, you know, if we want to move forward with all the alternates. The first alternate one, HSC soffit, $340. I recommend we move forward on that. That's controllers, lighting controllers for those fixtures to turn them off and on. The historical Society's new lights, that's the lights on the back side of the building, in addition of the north side of the building essentially doesn't have any lights out into the area. So that's $2,548. The new pole lights, $15,216 for 3 new pole lights along their drive lane. And then the add alternate 4 is for the northeast corner. That essentially was a missed item on the plan that I strongly encourage we move forward with. I guess the discussion, the recommendation for me would be just to move forward with all of them. I think they're important for lighting of that driveway. I know there's been some folks that have driven off that drive lane into the Historical Society. It's dark, whatever you want to say, but they drive off the drive lane into the turf area, and there's some ruts out there and things happening. And for safety, I'm not sure the backside of that building, this was kind of presented as a recommended option, but open for your input on that, and if you'd like to move forward. If we select all, I would recommend we move forward with Loberg.
Have you been out there at all when it's been, you probably haven't been at that site when it's been darker. Have you talked with Sally or anybody directly relative to their, how did these pole ones get in play in the first place? Was it someone?
The engineer.
It was the engineer. I guess that's the thing, I mean.
Yeah, I've spoken with
Historical Society
Sal.
people never specifically asked for lights on poles, did they?
Well, there was a risk manager who.
Well, I know, he gets a little carried away and he's not out there, but Tim, tell me about any discussions with the actual, like Sally or Betty or somebody out there relative to these poles and their feeling for the necessity of them.
Yeah, so Sally's been really open to, she'll take whatever we give. There's been this interesting relationship that we've had with the Historical Society about who is going to take care of what. Their thoughts and opinions are they'll make do with what they have, but anything the county is willing to do to help out is much appreciated. They don't want to ruffle any feathers. I respect that, appreciate it. The poles are coming from the engineer, obviously, when doing the site lighting map. Typically, if you're going to build it today, you're going to build your building, you're going to illuminate your driveway, your parking lot, all the perimeter. So that's why that's been included. So again, my thought with including all these alternatives is to give you guys kind of the best option, middle of the road, and the bare basics. One of my fears was to have you guys have me come back and say, why didn't you give us the best plan moving forward versus another ask down the road? So again, this information is just for your consideration. We can do it all first time. We could do it all what we feel, quote unquote, would be the right way. Or we could do something in the middle of the road, or just the basic.
You know, I guess here's my concern. The facility is typically open 8 to 4:30.
Well, they have a lot of evening programs.
Well, they have a few evening programs. I mean, they are sometimes open in the evening, but typically they're an 8 to 4:30 facility. And I think
Monday, Tuesday
sometimes
they're open later.
there's one night when they're open, but, and of course I mean, in the summertime, it's light out till well after 9 PM. And in the wintertime, it gets dark, we know, at, 4:30 or something like that. But I just, well, okay, let me ask you this. Can these things have timers on them? Why, these lights do not need to be lit up all evening, Saturday and Sunday night in the parking lot. This isn't Walmart. Nobody's driving in to buy anything on Saturday and Sunday. 98% of the time, those lights would be on and they would be helping nobody.
Didn't we put motion sensors on these?
I think we.
I want to know how these lights on poles aren't just going to cost $15,000 and 99% of the time waste electricity.
They absolutely can be added to lighting controllers, photocells. I wouldn't recommend timers necessarily just because they're a maintenance of adjustment all the time. You'd want to go with a percentage of daylight photocell, which absolutely can be added onto that. It's not included and it's not an expensive add. It's really inexpensive because it starts essentially at the new service that's pulled for this. It's coming out of the back shed. So essentially your timer or your photocell would go there and control all 3 lights. So that is certainly an option if we wanted to turn them off or on, or had a timer for weekends, or how you wanted to incorporate that.
Well, these buildings on the north side, weren't we adding motion sensors to them or not?
No.
The back ones we were, weren't we?
I thought those ones on the north side, because I thought the same discussion came up about lighting areas that, I mean,
The back ones.
if there's no movement back there, there's nobody back there, and what are we lighting?
Yeah, the back ones, I'm almost positive we had that added on.
Talked about that, yeah.
And for that matter, I mean, I don't know, it just seems to me this technology exists out there, and why do we light up areas where nobody's around and it's in the middle of the night, and why not utilize it to only light up things that are needed to be lit up when somebody's there walking around? Now, if some prowler comes and suddenly the lights all go on, hey, that's gonna maybe startle that person and he's gonna wanna leave. And if there's nobody there, there's no prowlers to see for people or cops that are driving by.
Great. So if I'm understanding the conversation, we're talking about not only the backlights, but potentially the pole lights, if they could be on some type of a motion.
Well, I just don't think those things should be lit 99% of the time, and I'd
Well,
want to
they're
do
not
2
lit
things.
99% of the time.
Right.
Well, 99% of the darkness. They shouldn't be lit 99% of the darkness, because 99% of the darkness, there's not gonna be a need for them. So they shouldn't, but the other thing is, I guess I'd like to know from the staff out there if they feel they're necessary. If they feel they're necessary, then I say put them up with some sort of device that only has them go when they're needed.
There is an option that for the fixture to have the photocell. I'd have to verify because the items that were bid were alternates that were listed within specified approved items, not necessarily the bid sheet on the product I have, but.
Of course, a
That is an
photocell is
option
not
that
a
can be
motion
on.
sensor, though. A photocell is only when it gets dark, it turns on.
Yeah,
Right.
so there would be,
I would expect everything would have that, right?
Everything should have a photo cell.
Yeah, otherwise, I mean,
Right.
we've got lights on in the daytime then.
Right.
but the motion sensor, I don't see that anything was included for that particular fixture.
Well, I know we talked
I'd
about
have
it,
to-
so I would say go back and get that figured out.
Yeah.
And I remember distinctly talking about it for the historical on the backside of the building. For sure. Because you brought up the same concern
Yeah,
at that meeting.
Yeah, we had Corey there for that. So we'll definitely reach back out to the engineer to get that resolved. But as far as,
Yeah, we can look back at that. I think for the LED, essentially you've got a 90-watt bulb burning, and, I mean, I can run the cost, maybe the alternative of.
Yeah,
going of- in the-
that'd be a good thing too. What is the
You know, if you're saving
additional
it
cost?
70 cents a day,
Right.
or 50 cents a day, is that worth pursuing, weighing the benefit of having it lit up all the time for people, the police driving by, or if they respond to something, or whatever the case may be, having it lit up all the time versus having it that way. I can certainly vet that out.
Yes,
If that's of
please.
interest to you.
So why don't we go with Loberg in relative to those two alternate, we're gonna go with the New North, we'll go with that. But you check on whether or not they should have motion sensors on them. You make the call. And then those poles, I'd like you to talk with Sally and Betty out there and see how they feel about the poles, if they feel they're necessary. And if they do think that they're necessary, then I guess I would like to see some sort of
I have spoken to
motion
Sally
sensing
about,
on there so those things just don't light up all the time. I mean,
I have a better idea than the motion thing though, because when they have an event out there, which is rare, but they do have them.
They have.
Once a week.
They're open every Tuesday
Yep.
evening.
But all they would have to have in there is they could have a timer and just turn it up. I know we're gonna be all gone by 10:30. They can turn it up for 4 hours and let it go.
like a 2-3 hour timer or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could do that. Yeah, you could have like.
But we have our baseball lights and the field set up that way.
The only thing I'd add.
Of course, that's not probably set up to go to a switch inside the building, though, that's the problem. Someone would have to go out there and have a timer on the, or something.
I understand that. The other challenge that I foresee too is what happens if you just have a citizen at 2 o'clock in the morning driving by, they want to do various activities, they see this dark area, now they drive, the motions, because there wouldn't be any motions, then wouldn't kick on, you know what I mean? That's kind of the purpose of lighting it.
Did you say at 2-3 in the morning?
Yeah, or whatever,
People pull in.
just people driving by. So if you're looking
people
for.
that aren't supposed to be there.
Yeah, like we have this problem in the parks all the
Okay,
time.
by having that lot lit up, you're more inclined to invite people into there to monkey around at 2-3, probably, I mean, if it's, I don't know,
No, it's actually.
No, they,
Well, okay, so if it's dark and they go in there and then it lights up when they're going in there,
That would be what we.
that would discourage them then.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at, but if it's just on a timer,
No,
so
it's
say I
actually
set the timer to 10
more
o'clock and we all leave,
driveway,
and then
but
it's
also
off,
parking.
after 10 o'clock for the rest of the
There's no
night, 2 or 3 in the morning, somebody shows up, now the lights don't pop up.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
We'd want to have it set up where you could.
Yeah, but I mean, but there is lighting all the way around that building, and there is a pole.
There is not.
Well, there would.
Yeah, there is,
There will
some of it broke and is getting replaced.
There is nothing on the north side.
Oh, well,
So there will.
well, there will be. The rest of the building all has it right now. The north side is not where the parking is.
No.
So where people come in the parking lot, it's already all lit on the sides where the parking lot is, and there's one pole, isn't there one pole at the driveway?
Well, yeah, it's.
There's
Yeah,
one
it's
pole at
right
the
at-
driveway.
it's right at
It's
the
not all dark out there right now. It would be more lit with this.
Great.
Back to what Tim had alluded to, that if we built it today, it would be lit the way it was drawn out. And they did a lighting plan to show
But did he do a lot, yeah.
where the lights, how many candle foot pounds is out so far, so, and how dark it is, and that sort of stuff.
And I'm buying that if you've got a facility that's open till 9 PM or 10 PM every 7 days a week, and you need that, but if it's a rarity,
But it sounds like there's something going on out there every night.
I think
Or
they're-
every, once a week.
I think they're open until 8 on Tuesday nights.
there's one night a week when I think I think it's probably 7, but in any event. So again, 7 or 8 months out of the year, it's light until 7 anyhow. 8 months out of the year, it's light until 7. So you've got 4 months when it's not.
Well, we can still find out, he can figure out what the cost is, and
Figure
we'll,
out, but talk to them out there too and see what they need.
And if I can add one thing, I did have a chance to meet with Sally about a month ago on some insurance items. She was talking to me about the majority of their patrons are folks that have trouble seeing in the
Yep.
dark, things on that nature too. So I just wanted to express that comment was made to me as well. I'm not saying that's a deciding factor, but just more information.
Well, but just so you know, the whole lighting at the Historical Society came up, because I was at the meetings, I go to most of the meetings there. The existing lights on the side of the building didn't have lit bulbs in them. They had problems with the existing fixtures, so this whole thing kind of started with, we want the fixtures we have fixed because it's too dark out here. It never started with, we need new lights out in the parking lot that have never been there before.
No, exactly. And this whole project actually stemmed from one of our county buildings, and we expanded it to two.
So if you can talk to the two folks out there and figure out a way to save money on electricity if they think them
Mr.
poles are
Chair.
needed.
We want the.
I'll make a motion to approve the Loberg bid with the alternate 3 being pulled out. And if in the future it needs to come back, we can deal with it in the future. That way, everything else moves forward.
I'll second it.
Okay, so bringing it back might mean possibly in a week even?
Yep.
It could
If
be
they,
a week. it could
if
be-
after
yeah.
talking to them?
Yeah, and if
Okay,
you can make it so they'll still hold that price because they're not gonna get done in a week, obviously. But just to
Right.
pull it now to make everything move forward.
So
here.
we've talked about a couple options. So just to clarify, on the driveway lights, what specific information or option am I
well,
getting?
specifically, you need to talk to the two people out there and
Right.
find out from them the necessity of those lights once everything else is fixed up.
Okay,
And then two, if they feel that there's some serious benefit there, then we need to find out how they operate and how that benefit would be, so we're not just having lights on, and most of the time, it's not lighting up anything and not creating a benefit.
Or the other is, if there is lights out there, would that get utilized more at that building?
Yeah, I've been out
In the
there at night.
parking.
It's difficult to
Yeah.
see. It is. So I can attest to that.
got a Kia now.
Well, like I say, and I don't want to take it, but talk to Betty and Sally, because they know more than anybody
Yep.
if these are necessary. And, you know, so.
I can do that again. I will express that I had a conversation with Sally that she'd like to see them there because people are driving off the road. They're older folks that
Okay,
are there.
but,
and-
okay, that's fine, because I had heard just a few minutes ago is that they're basically willing to take whatever you give them, and they don't have, you know what I mean, they're not pushing for nothing, so.
They are.
You know,
To add on to that point, yes, they are taking whatever that they will get, and appreciative of
okay,
that,
so-
but they would prefer to have them. Is it a necessity?
okay, so let's
No,
go with
but-
Mike's motion then, and you come back and tell us how we're gonna make these things
Okay.
work so they're not on all the time when the place isn't open,
Gotcha.
okay?
And then
And then you
one-
come back next week and tell us how that would work.
Sure, one additional
It
clarification.
might mean a couple $100 more or something like that if we have to add something,
Not a big deal.
you know?
Yep.
And then, as a part of our contract with Loberg Electric, state that they'll have to provide us or work with us on what we're pulling out to help us get our rebates from the city, because that was part of the deal, if I remember correctly. In order to get the most amount of rebate, we have to state what we're replacing.
That's something I'm working on, trying to figure that piece of it out. That'll probably fall more on our department and myself to figure that piece of it out with the city and the rebates.
Well,
So kind of working through that.
if the, when they're pulling them out, if all they would have to do is either take a picture or provide the information that it was a 300 watt mercury vapor or whatever, metal halide, that's what the information we need to provide to the city in order to get the rebate.
I would certainly expect Loberg would provide any of that information we want.
Just so long as that's included, that their requirement is, otherwise we will lose that rebate.
No, and we're absolutely gonna get every rebate dollar.
Okay, so Loberg's got the bid minus alternate 3, and that one there,
Could get added.
come back to us and tell us about it if we need to put that back in there. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll take about a 4 or 5 minute break here. And then we'll be Okay, the meeting is called back to order. The item of business is Mr. Greg Kaiser, relative to an agreement with LaPlante Sanitation. Mr. Kaiser.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. I came before you 2 weeks ago requesting that you approve an agreement with LaPlante Demolition. At that point in time, the board tabled the agreement for 2 weeks pending 3 items being completed on the Gutnick property. Number 1 being the removal of tires from the property. Number 2 being the removal of the illegal mobile home that's on the property. Number 3 being the cleanup of the burned down barn that's facing 40th Street on the property. I guess to kind of start out here, I have a revised agreement with LaPlante Demolition before you. It includes a credit for $60 per ton for steel that they'll be removing from the property. They'll be giving Mr. Gutnick a credit on that for the tonnage that's removed. They can guarantee that price right now through July 4th, and then after that, it'll be the market rate. So for right now, if we approve this, they would anticipate starting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock and going until done. I can tell you, I inspected the property this morning. It is, out of the 3 items that you had listed, the pile of tires was removed from the property. The other 2 items are still on the property, and the property in its entirety is nowhere near coming into compliance with the court's order and permanent injunction that was entered. And staff is asking that we move forward with the cleanup on this property. I can go through the slideshow if you'd like. I have it all set up here. I have about 40 photos, which I've given you on the dual slides. First coming in is a large tarp with items underneath it. The illegal mobile home that is still on the property hasn't been moved. We have appliances in front of it. We have a structure here that's filled with garbage and junk. More piles of garbage and junk that's just sitting out. We have what appears to be old typewriters that are filled just sitting on the property. We do have a few tires that are out along the property, out and about. More junk metal that's there. We have piles of junk again as you just walk through the property. We have a couple tires that are sitting there. This was the large pile of tires that was on the property. It has been removed. My only question for Mr. Gutnick is, where did it go? He's told me in the past that he has a secret lot out in Monticello Township where he stores stuff. So I did check the back part of this property. I did not see any tires there, but there was some garbage back by the wetland that I saw that LaPlante Demolition would have to clean up in the back part of the property. I don't know where the tires went. So I can tell you that there has been burning on the property. It doesn't appear as if tires have been burned, at least. So I think from an environmental standpoint, that's good. But I want to make sure that these tires were properly disposed of. Just some more piles as we go through the property here. See piles within the wood. Then the woods on the property of just junk. This is going up to the burned down barn. And then, as you can see, nothing's been done with the burned down barn and the ashes in that area. Again, just another view of the barn burned area. There was some burning that was taking place on the property. Again, I don't know what was burned. Doesn't appear, at least at this point, to be anything illegal. We do have some tires that are inside of a structure that need to be removed. Large tires out there again.
Now,
another view.
Back to the tires. Agricultural. Now, is there an agreement from the courts that state agricultural products?
Agricultural equipment can stay, yes.
Okay, so these tractor tires aren't a
I
problem?
wouldn't feel bad about 1 or 2 of these staying there, yes. Overall, this property is not in compliance, nowhere near.
No, I agree. I agree.
Well,
But I just want to make sure that we don't get into trouble by removing stuff that we agreed agriculturally that we're not going to take.
Yes.
Well, could they be the last product if everything else goes and the ag stuff gets put in a pile and afterwards, then we'd come back and deal with that?
Yes, that's fine. Yep, I don't want to take any egg stuff. It's still an active working farm. I don't think Dan's doing anything on it, but it is an active farm. Again, piles of just scrap metal and junk. Another pile. There's a trailer on the property that we allowed to stay there for a period of time. It's filled with stuff. Here's some more egg tires. And then a view of kind of the one-sided fenced area that's still there. We're allowing this equipment to stay there till August 1st pending the construction of the fence. We have appliances that are out on the property. There's a view of the appliances that are out there. More piles of stuff. There's a burn. This was actually still smoking when I was out there this morning. And
I was
then-
out there last night,
Yeah.
or
And then-
yesterday afternoon, there was nothing smoking, so I must have burned some more last
Yep.
night.
And then when I went out to inspect the back part of the property, I climbed over the fence, and this is what I saw down by the wetland. Was this pile here, another shot
was
of that
that?
pile. What's that?
What was that stuff?
It's just a lot of metal,
Metal.
metal junk, looks like some maybe rocks in there too. Just junk. And then here's
So
another pile of
Recently
it.
dumped, or what are you saying?
What's that?
Recently moved to that point?
Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it. The fence looks fairly new. It's been there for a long time. Another view of that pile in the back, and then another view of it, the third shot. And then this is the eyesore that has been there, and I've been begging to get rid of for over 4 years.
The SS Minnow?
The SS Minnow is still there. Still. After 4 years of begging, it's still there. He did at least move it off the front road right away, and he moved it to the back, but it's still here. More junk on the side of the property. And then we have a new vehicle up front, which now is not operable because the tire isn't on it, I understand. Hopefully he's getting it fixed, but this isn't a good sign to see again because this is how it starts. After 20 years, starts with 1 and it works its way up to 100 again. So I hope that this car gets out of there. Here's kind of a picture of the one-sided fence, some other pictures of the buses, and that's all I have. So I'd ask that you approve the agreement, and I'd like to get this project done and cleaned up. The cost with Berta's towing, I can tell you, came to $33,000 for Berta's to come in. They removed half the vehicles and hauled them over to French Lake Auto for scrap. Mr. Gutnick received a $13,000 credit as a result of that. The current amount due and owing to the county is just over $20,000 with that credit. We probably have about 45 vehicles at least at the compost site, which will be auctioned off unless Mr. Gutnick agrees that we can scrap them.
So he'll get a credit for those. So
If
right
we
now he's got a proposed 20 and he'll get a credit for those and that'll reduce that $20,000 number.
If he does, yes. I can guarantee Mr. Gutnick that if we go to auction, he will not get anywhere near close to that $13,000 figure. We
What
won't.
we'd get for scrap.
Yeah, scrap would be his best bet, but that's his decision. Court order says we have to sell it at auction. I'm happy to go through that process.
The money that ultimately gets assessed to Mr. Gutnick for this work, is that then going to be, what is the expectation? Is it going to be like 10% of it a year put on his taxes as a special assessment, or due and payable within 90 days for the whole amount, or how do you plan on doing this? Because unfortunately, you know, there's going to be a fairly sizable number here when we're done.
Yes. Well, generally what I would do is on an assessment, I would propose, I mean, it's up to the board at the end of the day, probably looking at a 10-year assessment, I would think, over and payable with generally 4% interest is what we would assess at. And that can always be paid like your mortgage as soon as it's due and payable. Right now, it's not collecting interest. As soon as we go through the assessment process, then the interest would collect on. So.
And there is no bank involved in this?
You are the bank.
And how about taxes are up to date on this property?
I believe so. And I have made a notice of demand on the estate for his father, so, because this is also a claim against the estate.
Okay.
Okay. Is there cash there, or, I mean, is there?
No estate has been opened as of right now.
Mr. Gutnick, did you want to speak for just a couple minutes on this issue here prior to the board acting?
Morning, Board.
Morning.
Good morning.
Concerning the stuff, the mobile home will be gone in 2 days. I had it on Craigslist, and I got 2 people interested, one for less money than the other, but I'll get rid of it, just to get rid of it, but it'll be gone in 2 days. The stuff that's under the tarp is stuff that I let a bus go, and it's all my inventory from my car shop, so I had to just unload the bus and let the bus go, but now I gotta find someplace for that. But I did remove all the tires. They went to First State up in Isanti, hauled them out.
Where did they go to?
I do have a receipt. It was like $600 for tires.
Can you make sure that Greg sees that so he can verify that they actually went to some place instead of,
I can get him the receipt, yeah.
just to make sure, because all of a sudden we don't want to find them.
Yeah, no, I
Farm over.
didn't burn them or anything.
That way, if
Yeah,
a pile shows up somewhere, no one can blame it on you.
Right.
Yep, exactly. No,
Exactly,
they got
that's
hauled
to
up to
protect
First
you.
State up in Isani. It's a long trip, but yeah, it's just, I've been trying to keep up with the agreement that I made. I did all the tires. I started on the north side of the barn, and that's where I took a lot of the timbers back, and that's where I was burning the timbers from a pile of the residue from the barn and stuff. I made a few trips, and one photo you can see my truck up there. I started by the road. I didn't start on the south side. They took pictures of the south side, which still looks the way it is, but I started on the north side by the road, and that's where I got a lot of wood out of there. And otherwise, yeah, the only tires I have, they're like rims or mags and good tires that are in the corn crib there. If I need to sheath the side, I'll sheath the side, but it's a roof and no rain could get in there. There's no disposal tires in there. They're all tires that I want to use that are on rims.
But you should have used one on your
Well,
van
I
out
have
there.
to change it on the rim, and then it was like 7 o'clock last night, because I made a run with tires last night. And then, yeah, it was 7 o'clock and nobody could change the tire for me to put on that van.
Okay, Greg, if he's got somebody on Craigslist for that mobile home, because that's a big ticket item here, if Berta or
LaPlante.
LaPlante
Plant.
is gonna do this,
Can
can that wait the 2 days, and if the third day it's not gone, it's part of it?
And it better have proper permits for transport, because it came there without proper permits. It better.
Well, all I have to say, who's buying that and where do they think they're taking it to? Who's this person on Craigslist?
He's up north, he out of the
Not-
county, yeah.
Okay,
So we'll give them a one-way permit.
I'll make a motion that allows LaPlante on the property starting July 11th.
okay, you made a motion, we'll see if you get a second.
And that gives us a few days for him to move a few more things out, because I don't want to own this property.
Motion by Deliden, is there a second?
Would you move it up a little bit? I went,
July 11th is Monday.
Second call for a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a second by Charlie. Here's, I guess, let me ask this question, because Mr. LaPlante, and I'm not familiar with exactly how he does his business, but 2 weeks ago, I think on a Wednesday, he had a crew ready to go the following morning.
They're ready to go tomorrow.
And we held them off, and I don't know, I mean, you're in business, I mean, if you've got staff ready to go the next day, and then you have to tell them, okay, there's no work for 2 weeks, I don't know if he owes, where he sends those people to work. And now 2 weeks later, this was gonna happen if the work wasn't done, and I think Mr. Kreiser was able to see that the work wasn't done and tells Mr. LaPlante, hey, the board's gonna take action. I don't wanna disrupt Mr. LaPlante's work and his employees and how he is
wouldn't-
prepared for things.
If this passes, he's not coming back in here. There's not gonna be anything before the board. It's just LaPlante comes in and starts working. So
Oh, I know, except that he's just, he may have people that are ready to go to work tomorrow morning, that's
Yeah,
all.
but I can't believe that that's the case.
Well,
I
I
mean,
don't.
you know, if he's relying on this, then I'm concerned about his business.
And one other thing that I had, Carl's brothers, that they wanted to bring I wanted them to bring a dumpster, and they were told by a commissioner not to do business with me.
They were told by a commissioner not to do business with you?
Yeah, that's what I get from George Carroll's. He was told not to do business with me, bringing the dumpster up for the metal.
not by anybody on the board.
I just got that from him, so I don't know, that's what he told me, that.
Well, I'm out, I don't even know George
No,
Carl's.
I don't either.
I don't either.
Carl's brothers are out of Waverly, they.
I know who they are, I just don't know George.
He may just not want to get involved either.
He told me he had to call you, and you told him not to get involved with me, is what he told me. Because,
Anyway,
yeah,
it's George's call, so
okay, well.
I can't make George do anything.
That's just what he told me, so otherwise I would have had a dumpster there to do a lot of metal too, so.
Hey, let me ask you this question, Dan. When we were in this room 2 weeks ago,
Yes,
you were adamant and you were clear and there was no mistake in the fact that all three of those things you would take care of by the date. There was no question it was gonna be done, but yet, the only thing done was the easiest thing that somebody could have taken care of in one day's work, is getting rid of those tires. And the other two things, the mobile home looks exactly the same, and I looked at the barn yesterday, and if you remove some stuff out of there, 90% of it's not done. In the last 14 days, you had an opportunity to do it. You said you could do it. I believe, based on what I seen, those three things were capable of being done. I could go out there with one other person and tear apart that mobile home, burn the wood, stack the aluminum in a pile and go sell it for a couple $100, and put the windows in a dumpster and have them hauled out of there, and it'd probably 2 days' work for two people, but yet the thing doesn't look any different than it did 14 days ago.
Right, because I had it on Craigslist and I'd want.
Well, that thing doesn't deserve to be moved anywhere because it's
I
junk.
apologize.
It's junk.
Yeah.
Instead of the 11th, maybe it's the.
And I don't feel, quite frankly, I don't feel good about this thing ending up 5 miles outside of Alexandria or something like that.
Just so it's not northwest of Alexandria, because that's where I'm at.
But,
If he doesn't do something today, I'll call him up and I'll have that gone in 2 days. I'll do like you said and just.
Yeah.
I'll
I mean, Mr.
guarantee
Chair, if we
that.
can save the $3,000, but.
you know, I don't dispute that, except that it becomes an eyesore somewhere else, and then someone else has some piece of junk that they don't want in their county. I mean, we wouldn't appreciate it if Sherburne County sent it over here. You know, there's such a thing about blight, and we want to remove blight, we don't want to move blight. There's a difference between removing it and moving it, and,
Find out where it
I'll
came
start on it
from.
this afternoon then. I'll take it apart. I'll disassemble it and do what you say there.
Motion for July 11th.
okay, there's a motion and a second to authorize LaPlante to enter the property and begin his work,
July 11th.
July 11th.
Monday, July 11th.
Monday, July 11th at
8 a.m.?
8 a.m.
7 a.m.?
8 a.m. Okay,
And
and there's been a second to that motion. Any further discussion on that motion?
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna make an amendment to the motion to, make that, July 5th.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Actually, could we
So-
make it July 6th? I'd be in agreement with that.
July 6th?
Yeah.
Okay, July 6th.
On Tuesday.
Okay.
July 6th, so,
I will
okay,
second
well,
that.
let's first see if the motion maker finds it as friendly and accepts it himself.
Charlie's not friendly.
Well, I'm gonna give you an opportunity to accept that, or if not, then we'll go with Commissioner Hewsom's second on it.
I'm just moving up.
That's
July
fine.
6th.
That's fine.
Then Greg's
Okay.
okay too.
So the motion has been
Greg's never okay.
amended by the motion maker and seconder to July 6th. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I don't want to hear, I told you so, though.
Oh, I think
Hey.
the pictures already said it.
Do you know anything at all about Mr. LaPlante's, his staffing and his, and how this would impact what he intends to do?
I don't know, I think if you give them a date certain, I think it'd be better. I think if we give them the
July
date certain of the
6th.
6th, I think that'd be better.
The 6th, that is
Than-
no more,
than
nothing, it's
dragging
just
this out
happening.
and
So,
tabling it.
to make it clear, July 6th, LaPlante will be there.
Yes.
Okay.
And what was the time, 8 AM was it?
8 a.m.
So effective that day, he's gonna come rolling in with trucks and,
So you got till July 6th to get whatever you can,
July 5th. or-
money-wise. Otherwise,
so if this passes, that, I don't think the motion makers in the second have any expectation that if Mr. Gutnick comes in and says, well, I did this and this in the last week, now give me more time, that basically you've got you've got that amount of time to get a scrap person in there, and get all the scrap yourself, and then you get paid the money, you don't have the expense, but after that time, it would be Mr. LaPlante.
Yeah.
All right.
You fully understand that?
Drop dead date.
That there's not gonna be a change of that date because a certain amount of progress has been made?
And since I have till August to put the fence up, if I put it in that area, that's,
No.
because with my
No.
buses and stuff, I mean,
No. We're not moving junk.
no, well, I'm
Junk is
not
gone.
talking junk, but there's a lot of good stuff out there yet. I mean,
We authorized, Mr. Chair, I authorized him to keep the vehicles out there in that area until August 31st because he was making substantial progress on a fence. He actually did something. I'm not moving junk and we're not playing
I'm
chase the
not
junk
moving
around the
junk.
property.
Yeah, no, I,
Okay, so just so the board's clear too, then relative to the vehicles, August 31st, is that still a deadline for vehicles, or is that all
Behind the fence.
removed now?
The
That-
vehicles are still, I'm honoring my word that I made with him on his property of, he has until August 31st to fence in those vehicles, and then he can have the vehicles out there. And if they're there on September 1, Berta's is coming in and they're towing them out.
Okay,
If the fence is not done.
Fence is
okay,
not
let's make
constructed.
sure we have that accurate in the minutes here, that, do we know which vehicles are being talked about here, so there's not a
buses.
misunderstanding?
The buses.
Buses.
Anything else on the property that is not licensed, mainly the buses. That's all that's
Okay,
left.
so in agricultural equipment is not in on this mix at all.
Not at all.
So relative to buses, you have until August 31st.
And that has to be behind a fence.
Fully enclosed fence.
So anything that's in his shed can't be touched.
We're not touching the sheds.
We're not
So if he
going-
was smart, he'd get all that junk out of the shed, put real good stuff in there.
That would be correct.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Mr. Gutnick, do you understand what is going to be voted on here?
yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
And it's not just moving more stuff behind the fence isn't gonna cut it, because that's.
Well, like I have my building materials and stuff that are sheet metal and stuff for the fence and stuff out there. I mean, so, I mean, that's what I'm not moving junk in there, but I mean, I do have, there are pieces of good stuff. I mean, like my fuel tanks and stuff like that, that's,
Fuel tanks would be farm related.
Do you, let me ask you this, Mr. Gutnick.
yes.
Do you think that the status of your property as it exists out there, do you think that's acceptable?
It got out of hand, but like I said, it's been 40-some years, yeah, and yeah, that pile of metal in the back is the old dump that we had. It's not in a wetland, it's actually on a hill. So it's not a wetland, but that's the old farm, all farms had dumps. So I mean, actually, there's grants available that will help clean up old farm dumps, so I
But
mean,
you have been dealing with this for 4 years.
Yeah.
no, but I mean, in the back,
I know, but for 4 years,
Mr. Chair, call the question.
well, I've been fighting for 4 years, but it's 2 years of, that I was supposed to clean up, yeah.
But even when we had went out there just a week or two ago, there was like a fresh pile of junk that you said that your sister had deposited there.
That was in a truck, cube truck that they took.
Well, it was just laying in the middle of property that day.
Yeah, I cleaned a lot of that up, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I mean, it was kind of unfortunate that, it kind of suggests that not only were things not getting cleaned up, it was almost continuing to go the other way by seeing that fresh pile of debris.
Right, I apologize, but a truck got emptied because the truck got hauled away, so
But,
it was
yeah,
a cube truck, so, yeah.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries 3-2. So, Mr. Gutnick, I hope you find a scrap person. I hope he brings out 10, 15 dumpsters. I hope you fill them all up one day and he brings them back the next, and I hope you do it again. And I hope you end up with a check for a few $1,000s instead of somebody else, you having to pay someone else tens of thousands.
All right, thank
And
you.
And these folks gave you, what, about 10 days to accomplish that or so?
8 days.
8 days to accomplish that, so.
How many days would you have given, Pat?
I would have given 0 now, I think, because just because of the lack of progress, but
I'm just trying to avoid us owning the property. I want to give as much
And I don't
chance as
think Chris-
possible.
And I don't think Chris would have went along without the motion, with amendments, so.
no, I think it's, I'm not criticizing anybody here for their motion or their vote, it's, I want you to be successful. I know everybody up here wants you to be successful, but
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm starting to get in Mr. Kreiser's camp that I don't think you're gonna do it now, just because of the lack of what was done in the last 2 weeks, but.
And I told you, I didn't want to hear, I told you so from an attorney with a bow tie, you know, and I heard it now, so.
And yeah, now Commissioner Delay knows us all lunch because of, instead of Greg owing us lunch, Commissioner Delay knows us lunch. Okay, items for consideration, committee minutes, building, Mark.
Yep, building committee met on June 22nd, members, presidents Potter, Delyden, Wilczek, Hatfield, and Tagaro. Item number 1 was the annex restroom. Wilczek provided an update on scheduling work with an architect scheduled. And then a meeting was set to walk through the site on Monday, June 27th with Tiffany Townsend of Nelson. The recommendation that is listed on the minutes here is incorrect. Those minutes were, or that recommendation is actually for the Public Works, part of the Public Works building. Anyway, the recommendation was to move forward with Nelson to be able to bring it to bid, and then at that point, make the decision on whether or not we want to proceed. Or put it off till next year and budget better for it. Since we've gotten some numbers that are some are extremely high and some are more respectable, so it'll give us a better idea. So that was the recommendation for the annex restroom. The IT expansion, it was just an updated, things are moving along. There's a $1,200 increase in flooring costs because somebody was wrong on, somebody didn't really understand what,
The level of the anti-static floor.
yeah, the anti-static.
The level of it. There's different levels of anti-static. They just didn't understand what it was that he wanted in there.
So, it'll be about $1,200 more for that. But everything is looking good. It's moving along. I don't know if any of you have been in there. They're gonna move into probably a conference room in the IT training room on July 8th to allow for the furniture installation on July 11th and 12th, and they'll be fully operational by the 18th. So that was just forward progress. Public Works deferred maintenance and remodel. Wilczek provided info and proposals from roof spec and inspec for roof and building envelope condition assessments. We're trying to figure out exactly what's going on out there and what we need to deal with. The recommendation from two commissioners to move forward with inspect to complete the assessment of the existing roof system and building envelope. The report on the system and conditions will determine the scope for the design services proposal, and the report and design proposal will be discussed for consideration at a future meeting when completed. And the one thing that is missing, that this recommendation for the annex restroom was to talk about having that same architect go out there that we're going to have for the restrooms here, review the drawings on how the floor plan will be out there for extension, parks, and surveyors. There was an internal drawing, so she'll be looking at it with a different new set of eyes, have discussion with those three departments, see if there's a better way to do it. If not, or if so, she'll be bringing that back to the building committee. So that's where that was. So it was actually 4 different items that should have been listed on here. Oh, and then one other note too is that we had that inspection on the crane, and with the exception of needing to purchase a trolley inspection pass certification, trolley's around $600. So for the $600 for that, along with the inspection fee, we have saved the county a considerable amount of money to eliminate having to replace that. So with that, I'll make the motion to approve the minutes and recommendations, and attached with the committee minutes are the pricing from Inspect. and also from the other company, RSI.
Motion by Commissioner Deline, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Potter, any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, for the recommendation, should it be to move forward with roof spec and inspect, the whole title of, instead of just move forward with inspect? Under the recommendation to move forward with inspect, is that?
Yeah.
Should it be roof spec and inspect?
No, inspect.
Roof system and
Okay.
building envelope.
Yeah, there's two companies that
Okay,
bid
got
on
it.
it. Roof spec
So
and
go
inspect.
with inspect, okay.
But
That's
we're
where I
going
got,
with
that's where I got a little,
Yeah.
yeah, I got a little confused there.
Yeah.
It was confusing for us
Yeah.
at that point.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah, it's to move forward with trying to figure out what's going on,
Spec, okay.
so we can get this thing fixed once and for all. And we don't have people pointing fingers at each other anymore.
Yeah, Mark.
Got it.
Any
It's
further
his fault.
discussion?
You.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Commissioner Houston, personnel, please.
All right. The Personnel Committee met on June 22nd, 2016. Members present, Houston, Sawatsky, Kelly. Others present, Hess, Matthijs, Rasmussen, Goodrum, Schwartz, Young, Gilman, Partlow, and Anderson. And the first item was a performance review for Mark Matthijs, the Parks and Recreation Director. And based on 4 reviews received, the committee recommends a rating of meets expectations for his performance review. And the second item was the performance review of Tony Rasmussen, our county assessor. And based on 4 reviews received, the committee recommends a rating of meets expectations. Number 3 was request for reclassification resulting in new salary range. And Hess presented information on 4 requests for reclassification, and each request resulted in significant revisions to the existing job description to the accuracy or accurately reflect the current duties and responsibilities. First one was actually a new position, the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Coordinator. And it's a job that's sort of been shared by different people in the Health Promotion Coordinator and position. So its request is to reclassify one of the current Health Promotion Coordinators to the Public Health Emergency Preparedness Coordinator classification. And this would result in a pay grade change from 10 to 13. The second one was a collection officer, and the change would be in pay grade from 9 to 10. The third one is fiscal manager. It's a new title of the business manager, and this would result in a change from pay grade 19 to 21. And the fourth was assessment assistant, new title of assessment process specialist. That would result in a change in pay grade 5 to 8. And they had also received a number of other requests, but the other revisions weren't significant enough to result in reclassifying or re-rating them. And the recommendation, after much discussion, was to approve these. So, Mr. Chair, with that, I will move the recommendations and the minutes.
I'll second it.
Motion by Houston, second by Delyden.
I got a question.
Yep.
The assessment assistant, is that in Human Services or the Assessor's Office?
All in human service, aren't
Yep.
they?
All public health.
I think they're all in health and human service.
Wait a minute, that was assessment.
That's in the
that's the
assessor's
That's
office.
the assessor's office.
Assessment
Yep,
assistant?
The
that one
assessor's
is. Yep.
office, yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
assessors, okay.
Yep.
They're not all in health and human
No,
service.
the first 3 are Health and Human Services.
Okay.
Yeah, that was Tony's.
Yep, that was Tony's.
Well, the fiscal manager, was that?
That's already-
Wasn't that in
was
Bob's
already done.
office?
That was already done, though.
No, the fiscal manager was Human
Human
Services.
Services.
Oh, it was?
Yep,
The 3 were in Human Services, and the fourth one, we did Tony's first.
yep, we
And his
did.
was the assessment manager, and the next 3 were Human Services.
Right.
Just trying to figure out which departments we're dealing with
Yeah,
here.
we probably could,
Yeah, because with the Lindsay, that was done a few months back.
The fiscal manager, isn't that,
Well, that's Christine.
Barlow.
But
The new
just-
title
what
for
I
the
thought.
business manager.
Yeah.
Yep.
That specific position is Christine.
Yep. Just to be more clear about what her responsibilities are.
No,
And I
I-
suppose we could actually have the supporting documents here, but we don't.
Clear as the crow, right?
Yeah. Clear.
So that's fine. I just wanted to know where it was going.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous. Ways and Means, Chris.
All right. Ways and Means Committee met on June 22nd, 2016. Members present, Sawatsky, Hewsome, Kelly. Others present, Kreiser and Virgin. And Kreiser, the topic was the policy for the adoption of the county ordinances. And Kreiser provided an overview of the draft policy. The county has made a significant investment in the codification of the existing county ordinances, and now we wish to have a policy in place that addresses how these ordinances are going forward. They're processed so we can keep them consistent and clear. And Kreiser noted that one significant change proposed is that each ordinance, when introduced to the board, will be assigned a number. That way we'll have kind of a historical information going forward, like, okay, this is ordinance whatever, and
Third revision,
what-
10th
yeah.
revision.
if it doesn't get approved, then it would still be assigned a number. And that'll give us that clear history. Kelly noted that we would create a consistent process throughout the county as we continue to standardize and centralize processes and procedure. Kreiser explained that number 11 of the proposed policy refers to when the county or clerk to the board will send the updates to the of the ordinances to the codifying company. The intent is to do it once a year. And Regina explained that the ordinance procedure for the clerk to the board is to provide direction on the process of ordinance amendments is not part of the policy. And if you have anything to add to that, Mr. Kreiser, otherwise, I will move the minutes and the recommendation of approval of the policy for the adoption of county ordinances is hereto attached.
I'll second it.
Motion by Hewsome, second by Delight. Any further discussion?
Yeah, is our ordinances on the web yet?
Commissioner Dalllight, and there's a set online right now that we're working on getting them incorporated into the web. Should be probably, I would think probably by the end of July, we should have something up. I think they said 4 to 6 weeks.
And then they'll be searchable. Right now, they're
Yes.
not.
Right now, they're not. No, right now it's just a PDF and it's underneath our department page. So once I get that final version, then I'll do a tracker with IT and have any other ordinances removed and we'll do the cleanup. So we're in the process.
Good.
So
Great.
it's going. It'll be there.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous.
Thank you, Greg.
And thank you for that. Well, we've mentioned that before, but that was a lot of work. Thank you.
Planning and zoning did a lot of it too.
Yeah. For all of you that did.
Speaking of a lot of work, I think the item you were here for before, you've spent a lot of time
Yes.
on it. I appreciate that. And I think you've been both diligent but fair as well.
And patient.
Patient.
Well, the patience and the fairness come together, but
Well, you have a daughter now, you're gonna have to learn that patience thing. I had 3 of you, so you gotta learn that.
Point rep and alternate to Highway 25 Corridor Coalition. We approved the agreement here a couple months ago. We didn't appoint anybody. This is my district. Having said that, I'd be willing, since I'm going to be gone in 6 months, I'd be willing to allow Commissioner Potter to have this appointment at this time and be the alternate. However, I think that discussion needs to take place again in January when the new person from that district is on, and they may want that spot at that time,
Yeah,
but
and Mr. Chair, I did reiterate that last Friday to the 25 Coalition, that was the wishes of Commissioner Swatsky, that the representative that's from the Monticello area have first shot at being on that if that's what they want to do. And it was understood. And
I'll make that motion to have Commissioner Potter as the representative and Commissioner Swatsky as the alternate.
I'll second that.
motion by Delight and second by Farrell. You got beat out again, Christine.
Okay. That's all right.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimous, but I will let you go first on advisory committees and updates.
Okay, well, let's see. We-
I'll make it so you don't have to bend your voice this time.
Well, Commissioner Potter and I were at the Mayor's Association meeting and toured the new Trailblazer Transit building. It's kind of a mirror image, basically, of the facility in Glenwood and
Glencoe.
Yeah, you're right, thank you. They're on target to have expansion up to like, what did they say, 40 buses or something? So they're bringing on a lot of buses. They're in the black by quite a bit. So without having to, any of the cities don't have to invest any money, was my understanding. So we'll see what
Then why
happens
did
going
they
forward.
want us to agree to give like $250,000 a year or something like that when we were gonna join?
Yeah,
Wasn't that about the number, Charlie? Somewhere in that ballpark?
Say that again.
I said, if they're in the black and the cities aren't having to contribute right now, how come when we were gonna be involved, they thought they wanted us to contribute like 250 grand a year or
I think
something?
360.
Well,
Yeah,
250,
it was a
360,
fair- It was
whatever.
a pretty significant, I don't think they knew how to, estimate how
Because they were used to.
much they're, right, I mean, with their,
They were used to
when you
paying
think
so
of,
much down there.
think of our county, we're almost three times the size of those two counties. I don't know if they knew.
Well, and we tried to explain to them efficiencies that should occur and how you shouldn't lose money if you have a lot of rides and you can be efficient with close rides, but yet no one down there wanted to accept that, and
Yeah.
you're gonna have to pay in this kind of money, and we'll tell you what you get, and it'll be how it is. But
Right, yep.
Was Gary at this meeting?
He was at the tour, yeah.
Was there any discussion about some of the internal rankings that have been, ranklings that have been going on?
No,
Okay.
we just looked at the building and that was, yeah, and I mean, they have a nice building, and they also have a meeting room that is available at no charge for any nonprofit groups.
Government agency, nonprofit.
Yeah.
How big of a room is that?
It was, just a,
Not just about this, not quite this
No, it's
size,
not-
but
it's not this
quite this
big,
size,
but,
but it's
yeah.
2/3 for sure.
so, and they're getting, set up with their dispatch. They just have, the volume is so large for them in Glencoe that's why they're gonna have this hub
By
up
the end
here.
of the year, they want full
Yeah.
dispatch up here.
Yeah, that I
And-
don't understand.
Yeah,
Right now, the buses are routed from Glencoe because that's where the dispatch.
No, I
center is.
understand, but like if Maple Grove Transit was gonna do it, they were gonna, do it right out of, the things would get relayed right through Maple Grove and it would go right out of there because they said, no, we can handle those calls right through here and,
yeah. Yeah, I think the volume is just that much greater, but,
yeah, but if you were in the size of that Maple Grove facility, Charlie, were you there?
No, I
Mike,
wasn't.
you were there,
No, I
weren't
was
you?
there with you, yep.
I mean, it
Maple
wasn't,
Grove.
wasn't very big and they were, the number of calls they were going through in that small little area was just
yeah,
asking,
you don't need, and it's not a large area here either, the dispatch area.
It's exactly the same. as
Regardless, I
Glencoe
guess,
got.
Yeah, but anyway, we'll, kind of see what happens as we go forward. I was at the SHAC meeting, the State Health meeting on Friday, and there's still, we had discussion about the opioid use, and the deaths between 2014 and 2015, there was an 11% increase in deaths. And as a comparison, in 2014, there was 316 people killed in motor vehicle crashes. And in 2015, there's 572 opioid deaths. And compare that to 73 alcohol-related deaths. So it's going up a lot. Prescription drugs provide a large percentage of that, of the deaths, number of deaths. Most are unintentional, but of course some are suicide. And they have a triple aim in their health equity. There's been a lot of discussion for the last couple of years really about inequities in health availability, and their goal is to implement health in their policies to strengthen community capacity and also expand the understanding of health. And I forgot to mention under the opioid that in 2016, this year, May 20th, the law went into effect that allows pharmacies to dispense antagonists under the written protocol of a medical director or a prescribing physician. And a lot of I think, attention was was given to this when Prince died, and he had, the week before, had been given Narcan and came out of that health crisis that he was in, but nobody was around when he overdosed, so. And we were at the Central Minnesota Mental Health last night and got the audit report came in. We got the auditor was in, and do you have anything to add to that? It was insignificant, and, you know, things are just continuing to improve with the Central Minnesota Mental Health, I believe.
With the new director.
Yeah, the new director.
The new director, and even with the interim director.
The interim directors have done a nice job, too.
They did,
yeah.
they did, you know, a real fine job, and so our director, Dr. Lee, has come in and continued to open communication and to just, yeah, increase transparency and getting some good people for him, with him.
Good to hear.
That's about it.
Mike?
Mr. Chair, thank you. Last Friday, Highway 25 Coalition met, appointed Brian Stump, Mayor of Monticello, as the chair, Rayanne Danielski is the vice chair. The secretary is Jeff O'Neill of Monticello, and I believe Monticello is temporarily the fiscal agent there because they were talking about who to get, and I didn't want to offer up Wright County without the full board having input on whether we want to be the fiscal agent for this or not.
Who's Rianne is from where?
City of Big Lake.
Big Lake.
Mayor of Big Lake.
Mayor of Big Lake.
So I thought it was good to have somebody from this side of the river, that side of the river, and I think those are two good people to have chairing that and vice chair. And it was just discussion as to how to get started, next steps, how to pick an engineer, go through with everything else. So it's more to come on that.
It was Rayanne's husband, Irv Danielski, that went toe-to-toe with Ewald in that election where they went down to within about a dozen votes or a half dozen votes.
Wow.
Hence the nickname Landslide Peterson.
Yep. And Irv was former mayor of Big Lake himself, so now both husband and wife can claim that title in Big Lake, so.
That's it, Mr.
Is that
Chairman.
it, Mike? Let's see here. Charlie and I on Friday morning, we had our solar meeting, and things are going pretty well with that the last couple of meetings. We're picking up the topics of some of these hot button issues, and we're mostly coming to consensus. Vegetation, I think we kind of, well, land alteration, we did a pretty good job with that. Vegetation, we've got to get maybe more of an expert in, and talking about roads now too, and I think some of the solar people don't think they need any roads inside, and others suggest that maybe they're required for various reasons, and we haven't come to a conclusion on that.
Imperative to have a
That some of them just said you have to have them, and the other one said, I don't think we need them.
Well, and like that one person, Evan, he started off by saying, well, you know, we put the roads in because you guys want them. Well, we don't want them. Well, then later he kind of said, well, the investors demand them, you know, which, but yeah, that the investors won't invest money if there's no roads in there or something like that, which we thought was kind of strange.
But I came up with a,
I don't buy that one.
So, but I mean, so those are some of the topics. Like I say, generally speaking, I think we're coming up with consensus on a lot of the issues. I think the real rub will be when we get to the end. We're saving the toughest one for the end, and that's specifically where can they go? Is it the entire ag area, or is it, you know, is there overlay? Those sorts of things. But before we get to that, we want to know what these look like. What are the conditions on them, and what are they going to look like before we decide specifically where they can go and can't go? So, but I think we're making progress, and at meeting every 2 weeks, and I suspect within that 6-month period, we'll be able to report back to this board our outcomes.
Did you have something to add to that?
no, I was just saying, the one thing that I think where this is going to come to, we're going to have these conditions, like we could have just put these conditions on at the planning and zoning, but we're gonna have them in the ordinance. And then also, I think what it's going to be is, like, there'll be bonds for damage to the road, there'll be bonds for whatever. And I came up with a number, and I was talking with supervisor from Buffalo, Donnie Schmidt, and he thinks I'm pretty on this, but if they're going to put gravel in a field, $20 a square foot, judging for inflation and stuff, and they can put it all on, just call it a reclamation plan, and that would be the incentive not to put roads out there if they don't need them, so.
Yeah, and I guess I need to learn more about how these bonds work to make sure that will be there at the end of the project.
Well, and I say bonds, but it could be a letter of credit too.
Yeah.
I think we've been kind of going to that a little bit too, so.
Because
Letter
if
of
the
credit?
roads truly aren't needed, then why not just not put them there in the first place, and you know what I mean, but.
Yep.
But anyhow, but like I say, I think we're having some good discussion, and the first meeting was a little testy. I think there was kind of some emotion ran a little bit higher that first meeting, if you remember, kind of, Charlie, and I think things that's all kind of calmed down, and I think we're.
And we still have, you know, Buffalo and Franklin just don't want them at all, and how are we gonna, this will come at
Like I
the
say,
end.
that will come at the end of whether there's overlay district or,
That's for last.
whatever, but, Mark?
2 questions. Trailblazer made me think about River Rider. Heard anything?
No, we're waiting back from this audit that Mike heard Sue Seamer said was supposed to be
Sue Seamer's
forthcoming.
at the 7W a couple weeks ago said it is done. Within 2 weeks, we were supposed to get the number.
Yeah, and just, you know, someone suggested to me after that meeting, and they raised a good point, any report, if they're gonna give a report to anybody, that report should go to the River Rider Board of Directors.
And I'm not
That's where
sure.
that should go to,
That's-
and,
Maybe that's how it's going. I have
know,
no idea.
because we're still existing, waiting to wrap this thing up, and that would be our
Oh, yeah.
final outcome, to be able to say, okay, we're done.
Just so long as it doesn't go to the Trailblazer Board, that's my only concern.
Well, yeah, I think she was holding her cards close to the cuff, so
I know,
they
that's what
must
worries
have a
me.
procedure they have to go through.
That's
And it
what
would make
worries
more
me.
sense to go through the River Rider
I
Board first.
think they're strategizing,
Yeah, why-
quite frankly.
Could be.
That's
I'm just,
gamesmanship of whatever you want
Yeah, why would it go to the Trailblazer Board?
to.
hey, I'm just concerned, that's all. And then my next question is directed at the attorney thinks it's important to hang around here till the very end, and I really appreciate that. That way, at least we got one person here listening to us.
No, forget about
Otto,
Ed.
Was there another court this week?
Last Thursday.
Last Thursday.
Last Thursday.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, last Thursday, there was a summary judgment motion hearing before Judge Ott, OTT, in Ramsey County. So both sides were basically asking the court, saying, there are no factual disputes here, it's a legal issue, we want you to decide in our favor. So the state auditor was saying, we want you to find this law unconstitutional, do away with it. Ramsey County did not take part in the hearing, but Becker and Wright counties argued that, you know, it's a valid law, she's full of baloney, decide in our favor. And the judge took it under advisement. We don't expect a ruling for,
60?
well, they have up to 90 days. She said she would rule as quickly as possible, which probably means 30 to 45, which means that we're going to be dealing with the law going into effect August 1st. And I talked a little bit with Scott Anderson, our attorney, about how we want to handle that. And the law takes effect August 1st. The law also says that you have to give notice by August 1st in an even year if you want to opt out for future years. So we'll likely be bringing something back before you in July here to decide whether we want to opt out for future years. If so, we'll need to actually serve the state auditor with that notice right on August 1st, because that's the only possible day you could do it. And, you know, we're locked in.
Didn't you say before August 1st?
No, we would have to give notice on August 1st, but we'd ask you to,
So the statute says you need to do it on August 1st?
Not before, on.
it says,
Oh.
it basically says you have to give notice
Before, or by?
on or before, I believe is the way it's worded.
on or before?
On or before August 1st of an even year.
But the law doesn't take effect.
But the law doesn't take effect till August 1st because
Oh,
of
I
the way the
gotcha.
legislature. So this particular
So this year, you'd
go-round-
have to do it August 1st, in the future, you could do it
Correct.
anytime before
Yeah,
then, I
yeah.
gotcha.
And so we're locked in using the state auditor for the 2015 audit, which is underway, obviously, or finished,
That one's
And the
complete, yeah.
16.
and 16.
Yep.
So the first we'd be able to use, I believe, is the 2017 audit, which would be done in 2018 if we wanted to use outside.
So how are these people notifying the state on August 1st? Are counties gonna have people driving down there in a vehicle and handing it over, or what is the mechanism that's gonna take place? Because if they can't mail it on July 29th then, for example?
Good question, Mr. Chair. I don't know. I haven't thought that far ahead. I think it says the notice has to be in writing.
UPS.
Obviously,
Next day.
the most certain way of making sure that it's there on August 1st is to hand deliver it.
Yeah.
We can hire a private process
Oh, yeah.
server
You want
to
to
do
make
that.
sure that they date stamp and
Or we could
everything.
send Greg Kreiser down. He's excited. He's
Yeah.
ready to
Right
go.
down there anyway.
Yeah, it was close there. So Ramsey County didn't take part in that? Why?
They filed a short page and a half document just saying that they weren't making any summary judgment motions. I don't know, I really don't know, Commissioner Delighten, what their thinking is. We haven't had significant conversations with them, but they're kind of taking a back seat on most of this stuff.
My guess is you probably have commissioners from Ramsey County that know Rebecca Otto on a first name basis.
And
Maybe
and I-
politically-
And I think they did not expect Wright County and Becker to actually.
And the only reason they got drawn into this thing is so they could have the case in Ramsey County. So they could use that as the venue, I'm assuming.
That would be a good reason.
I mean, Ramsey County has always had the state auditors do their
Correct.
auditing.
Yeah, but if you don't sue Ramsey County, you can't have the lawsuit in Ramsey County.
You gotta bring it out
And
here
if, and if
somewhere.
you're suing Ramsey
And if you're
County-
Rebecca Otto, right away you call and tell them that. The only reason I sued you guys is because I wanted to have it here.
Right, and then Ramsey County can just roll over and play dead, and then the law would get overturned. But Wright and Becker fought it.
Who's the judge?
Her name is Leslie Merrick Ott, O-T-T, I believe.
And appointed by?
That I'm not
Plenty, that was a
entirely
Plenty
sure on.
appointment.
She's been on the bench about
Oh,
10
maybe we got a
years.
chance then.
I think that was a Plenty appointment I read somewhere.
I think you're right.
Thanks, Brian.
That's all I had. Yeah,
Charlie?
thank you, Brian.
No, nothing.
Thank you.
Okay. There being no further business, we are adjourned at 11:32 a.m.